Chapter 22:13. However, after the spiritual beast got up, it seemed to become more and more courageous. It turned the pain it suffered from Lin Yi into strength to fight against the green-clothed master, the black-clothed master, and the white-clothed brawny man. The little fire lion's physical strength didn't seem to be exhausted. On the contrary, besides Lin Yi, the four heads of the green-clothed master, the black-clothed master, and the white-clothed brawny man were already covered with sweat. They were already panting from exhaustion, and the many attacks of the little fire lion had also caused some injuries to them. The fifth guardian looked anxious, but there was nothing he could do. This encirclement was beyond his expectations. It was completely different from what was recorded in the information. According to the records, 4 golden class masters would attack the little fire lion cub non-stop until its stamina was exhausted. This step could be completed in around 20 minutes. However, more than half an hour had passed, and not only did the little fire lion not show any signs of exhaustion, it was full of vigor. The people surrounding it, on the other hand, seemed to be starting to run out of energy, especially the green-clothed master who was the weakest. He was already panting heavily. His heart was filled with hatred. The little fire lion seemed to have understood that he was the weakest and had fought with him the most times. On the other hand, Lin Yi, who was the strongest, had very few chances to fight. However, he couldn't retreat. If he retreated, he would lose all the rewards. Not only would he lose the essence-gathering pill, but he would also lose the 5 essence-gathering pills. Everyone work harder. Continue to work hard. Grit your teeth and hold on. The 8th guardian also saw that the green-clothed master was showing signs of exhaustion, so he quickly encouraged them. However, although everyone was clenching their teeth and holding on, the little fire lion didn't have the slightest sign of exhaustion. It was still constantly attacking, and attacking. The 8th guardian and the 5th guardian even wanted to slap the little fire lion until it was seriously injured. But they knew that if they did that, the whole plan would be ruined. If the little fire lion's meridians were damaged, the contract wouldn't be successful, and it would be a disaster. Lazi, the green-clothed guy, might not be able to hold on anymore. When he can't hold on anymore, you go up and replace him. The 8th guardian instructed Lazi. Okay. Lazi naturally knew the pros and cons of this. If he went up and replaced the big fire lion, it would be difficult for him to escape. But he had no choice. Who asked him to be in charge of this mission? Who asked him to take the initiative to accompany young Master Tag along up the mountain to please him? At first, how would Lartzi know that it would be so troublesome? From his point of view, 4 golden class masters were more than enough to complete this mission. In theory, the records in the ancient books should not lie. But who knew that there would be problems? Roar dash. A loud roar that could shatter mountains and shatter the earth rang out. Everyone present, including Lin Yi and the 5 protectors, staggered from the impact. The sound waves seemed to tear and distort the surrounding air, making people feel suffocated for a moment. Not good. The great flame lion is here. The 5th protector's expression suddenly changed, and he shouted, "Everyone, don't fight, retreat quickly." However, his voice was too late. A fiery red figure scuttled out from the nearby forest, descended from the sky, and stood proudly in the center of Lin Yi's group. This was a huge spirit beast that was more than 2 meters tall. The spirit beast's entire body was covered in fiery red fur, shining brightly under the sunlight. If it was any other time, seeing such a beautiful spirit beast would be a delightful thing to see. However, at this time, everyone present was trembling with fear. Even the 5th and 8th protectors did not expect the great flame lion to come, and so quickly at that. According to their estimates, with the great flame lion's habits, it would take at least an hour after discovering that the fire cub was missing. But now, it only took slightly more than 40 minutes. At this time, it was impossible to escape. In front of the great flame lion, whoever tried to escape first would definitely be the first to die. Although the great flame lion's speed could not be said to be particularly fast, it was at least faster than most human cultivators, especially these golden class and earth class cultivators. Their speed was incomparable to that of a heaven class cultivator. Roar, roar, roar. When the fire cub saw the great flame lion, It immediately jumped on the spot and let out a cheerful roar. It knew that it was safe now. However, not only did it express its excitement for its safety, but it also told the great flame lion about what had happened before, including the siege of the green-clothed master, the black-clothed master, and the white-clothed strong man, as well as the help that Linny had given it. The great flame lion's angry gaze swept across the people present, of course, including Linny. The great flame lion's spiritual intelligence was higher than the fire cub's. Naturally, it knew that Linny did not want to fall out with these people openly, and could only help them secretly. Therefore, it would not expose them, and would also help Linny secretly. Roar! The great flame lion roared angrily. Its body scuttled and disappeared on the spot. The next moment, it appeared in front of the green-clothed master. The green-clothed master was caught off guard, and with a slap, the green-clothed master was sent flying. He landed 10 feet away, and his head fell on a rock. Immediately his brain burst. Obviously he would not survive. The green-robed expert's miserable appearance caused everyone present to shiver. However, in the face of this majestic great flame lion, they seemed abnormally powerless. They were not a match for the great flame lion at all. Then, while the black-clothed master was caught off guard, he was also sent flying. This time, he was directly slammed into a big tree not far away. The tree trunk directly pierced through his chest and hung him in the air. A stream of dark red blood gushed out of his body, dyeing the tree trunk and the ground below it blood red. Ah! Another scream was heard. The white-clothed strong man was also sent flying. This time, it was also coincidental that the white-clothed strong man was sent flying to the foot of a tiger that had just passed by. Just as he was at a loss of what to do after the fall, the tiger happened to come out to look for food. When it saw the great flame lion giving it food, it immediately bit off the neck of the strong man in white and took him to the side as a delicacy. Finally, the great flame lion looked at Lin Yi. It was Lin Yi's turn. Chapter 22:14. There were no ferocious beasts, rocks, or dangerous trees in the bushes. It seemed that the big fire lion knew that Lin Yi had helped the little fire lion, and was just putting on an act. The big fire lion was not stupid. It knew that these 4 people were just executors, and the mastermind was the young man in luxurious clothes, who was trembling in fear not far away. The big fire lion knew this person. He was the young master of the Tagan family, Tagan Long. As one of the few highly intelligent spirit beasts in the Wulonghout mountain range, the big fire lion naturally knew the leaders of the major forces at the foot of the mountain. He had seen these people appear from afar in the middle. However, although he knew that Tagan Long was the mastermind, the big fire lion could not kill him. After all, the Tagan family was not to be trifled with. They were a family with a heaven rank expert. If Tagan Long died, the Tagan family would definitely not let the matter rest. They would risk their lives to take revenge. That was not what the big fire lion wanted to see. He could not stay by the little fire lion's side all the time. Their fire lion clan was not the only big family in the Wulonghout mountain range. There was another clan of spirit beasts that had always been hostile to them, so he did not want to attract human cultivators. At that time, if the Tagan family recklessly assassinated the little fire lion, the gains would not make up for the losses. However, the big fire lion had to teach them a lesson. He had to let them know that his son was not so easy to scheme against. He had to make them give up and not cause trouble in the future. Therefore, the big fire lion walked towards Tagan Long step by step. The 5th protector did not know what the big fire lion was thinking. He was shocked when he saw its ruthlessness. He thought that it was going to harm Tagan Long, so he hurriedly stood in front of Tagan Long to protect him. Roar! The big fire lion slapped him, and the 5th protector could only bite the bullet. If he did not protect Tagan Long at this time, he would not be able to escape death when he returned to the family. He might as well risk his life to make a contribution. However, the big fire lion did not seem to have any intention of killing him. It only slapped him away and left with the little fire lion. Pfff. The 5th protector spat out a mouthful of black blood. It was clear that he had suffered an internal injury, but this kind of injury was nothing to him. He quickly threw a minor renewal pill into his mouth, and channeled his energy to dissolve it. He then quickly began to heal himself. Tag on Long heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the fire lions and Big Fire Lion had left. He was not pretending this time, but he was really frightened. Next time, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't dare to make the little fire lion his contractual spiritual beast again. It was too frightening. In his opinion, the Great Fire Lion didn't know that they were the masterminds. After punishing Lin Yi and the other three, it scared the onlookers and left. Therefore, he was secretly glad that they didn't make a move and let the four unlucky fellows deal with the little fire lion. Ah! Lin Yi screamed. He had to pretend to be injured, but he was sneering in his heart. He roughly understood why the fifth protector, eighth protector, and La Zi didn't make a move even though they had the same strength. It turned out that they were afraid of the Great Fire Lion's revenge. Similarly, Sun Jingyi also screamed in response. However, her scream came from the bottom of her heart. That was because she felt her feet sink, as if she had stepped on air. When she looked back, she was surprised to find that the turf under her feet had collapsed. There was a big pit under her feet. Lin Yi also noticed Sun Jingyi's abnormality. With a casual pull, Sun Jingyi was pulled up by Lin Yi again. Why did this place collapse? Sun Jingyi looked at her feet strangely. I don't know. Lin Yi shook his head. It seemed that the Wulong Heot mountain range was really dangerous. Even the grass was in danger of collapsing. The eighth protector, La Zi, and Tag on Long were a little surprised that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi did not die. Those three people were dead, but Lin Yi escaped. It was amazing. However, after thinking about it, perhaps the Great Fire Lion's temper had subsided after killing those three people. Therefore, Lin Yi and the fifth protector were only slightly injured. Or it could be said that the three people's deaths were accidents. The green-clothed master was killed by a big rock, the black-clothed master was pierced by a tree trunk, and the last white-clothed man was even more unlucky. He was completely bitten to death by a tiger. However, when the eighth protector saw that the ground under Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi's feet had collapsed, his expression changed slightly, and he quickly walked over. Because he had thought of an important matter. In the Wulong Heot mountain range, there was a kind of spiritual beast called the Lesser Killing Marmot. This kind of spiritual beast lived underground and liked to build its nest in large underground caves. It was not aggressive and did not have any other special attributes. However, this kind of lesser killing marmot had a hobby. They specialized in collecting the vital energy inner cores of dead spiritual beasts. They would store the vital energy inner cores they found in their caves. Although they were not of much use, many spiritual beasts had this hobby. Previously, when the Tag on Long family was gathering herbs in the Wulong Heot mountain range, they accidentally discovered a few caves for the lesser killing marmot and found a few vital energy inner cores of spiritual beasts. And the collapsed ground under Lin Yi's feet was very likely a cave for the lesser killing marmot. Therefore, the eighth protector walked over impatiently. Others did not know how to use the vital energy inner cores of spiritual beasts, but the alchemist of the Tag on Long family knew one of the uses of this vital energy inner core, and this use was not insignificant. Move aside, the eighth protector said to Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi. What do you want to do? Lin Yi saw the eighth protector walking over impatiently. He had some doubts in his heart and asked without batting an eyelid. If I tell you to move aside, then move aside. Why are you talking so much nonsense? In the eyes of the eighth protector, Lin Yi was a small middle-stage golden rank expert. Although he could skip levels and defeat the white-clothed muscular man at the peak of middle-stage golden rank, in the eyes of a middle-stage earth rank expert, Lin Yi was just an ant. Lin Yi did not want to form a grudge with the Tag on Long family for the time being, so he turned his body slightly and pulled Sun Jingyi to the side. Meanwhile, the eighth protector quickly used his hands to dig at the collapsed ground under Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi's feet. At this time, young Master Tag on Long and La Zi also walked over. When the two of them saw the actions of the eighth protector, their faces were instantly filled with joy. They had guessed the eighth protector's intentions. The fifth protector was currently recuperating and could not come over for the time being. This is the cave of the lesser killing marmot? Tag on Long asked with some surprise. There are vital energy inner cores of spiritual beasts inside? It should be. The eighth protector nodded and said, but I don't know if there are vital energy inner cores. Chapter 22:15. Huh. It's really the little marmot's cave. The 8 guardians laughed out loud and increased their digging speed. They even instructed Lartsy. Lartsy, come over and help with the digging. Yes. Lartsy nodded and stretched out his hand to help. Seeing that everyone else was dead except for Linny, Taganlong was a little displeased. If Linny had died, he would have been able to bring Sun Jingyi back with him. However, Linny was not dead yet. Therefore, Taganlong looked at Linny in displeasure and said with a frown, what are you looking at? Help. Do you still want those 5 spirit-gathering pills? The mission had failed. According to the agreement, Linny could get the 5 soul-gathering pills, but the 3 dead people would not get any. Who asked them to be unlucky enough to die? Oh. Linny responded calmly and walked over to help. He started digging with the 8 guardians and Lartsy. Soon, the little marmot's cave was dug open. Linny touched 2 hard pearls from within. He reached out and took them out. It was indeed the inner core of 2 spiritual beasts. Chapter 22:16. Just as the 8th protector made his move, Linny made his move as well. His left hand was bursting with chi, and his right hand was using the 4th stance Frenzy Fist. Frenzy Fist 4th stance. Vacuum Wave Fist. Go to hell. Linny suddenly exploded. Before, Lin-Yi and Taganlong were talking nonsense because they were accumulating chi. This 8th protector was at the same level as him, an Earth-class mid-phase master. It wouldn't be easy for Lin-Yi to kill him in an instant. However, Lin-Yi had to kill him in an instant. He couldn't fight with him. If he did, it would be disadvantageous to both him and Sun Jingyi, because there was still the 5th protector, who was at the peak late phase of Earth class. Even if this young master Taganlong was useless, he was still at the early phase of Earth class. Therefore, Linny had to get rid of this hidden danger. The 4th stance of Frenzy Fist couldn't kill a master of the same level in one move, but Linny wanted to use the combination of chi bombs. Although the compression time of the chi bombs wasn't long, and the effect wasn't that great, Linny was using Frenzy Fist as the main force, and the chi bombs as a supplement to deal with the 8th protector. Scorching fire chi burst out from Lin Yi's right fist, forming a huge heat wave that instantly pressed down on the 8th protector's chest. Boom! With a loud bang, the 8th protector was sent flying by Lin Yi's 4th stance of Frenzy Fist, completely unprepared. His eyes were filled with disbelief. How could a golden-class mid-phase master use martial arts? And it was the 4th stance. No, this wasn't the 4th stance, this was the 5th stance. You. The 8th protector opened his mouth, wanting to say something. You can go to hell now. Linny didn't give him a chance to speak. Before the 8th protector could react, the chi bomb in Lin Yi's left hand followed up and smashed towards him. If Linny didn't kill the 8th protector, he would be a huge disaster and hidden danger. He had to get rid of him first. Bang! There was another earth-shattering sound. The 8th protector watched helplessly as a large hole was blown in his chest. He died with everlasting regret. In death, he finally understood that Lin Yi wasn't a golden class mid-phase, but he couldn't speak anymore. After killing the 8th protector, Lin Yi returned to Sun Jingyi's side. He was afraid that Taganlong would harm Sun Jingyi while he was dealing with the 8th protector. However, Taganlong obviously didn't do so. Lin Yi guessed that Taganlong was still fantasizing about killing him and bringing Sun Jingyi back. At this time, he wouldn't hurt her. Previously, Lin Yi had thought of 2 battle plans. One was to capture the leader and use Taganlong to threaten him. However, this method was too risky. If Lin Yi controlled Taganlong, he wouldn't be able to protect Sun Jingyi. The 8th and 5th protectors could use Sun Jingyi as a hostage to restrain Lin Yi. Therefore, Lin Yi finally chose to kill the 8th protector and find a way to fight against the 5th protector. As for Sun Jingyi, if Taganlong was interested in her, he wouldn't let her die now. At most, he would control her and try to capture her back, but he definitely wouldn't harm her now. Obviously, Lin Yi's speculation was right. His figure flashed back to Sun Jingyi's side. Lin Yi looked coldly at Taganlong. Don't be too greedy. Nothing could have happened, but you just had to cause trouble. You're an Earth class? Tagan Long wasn't stupid. If he still didn't know that Lin Yi was an Earth class, then he could go die. You've been pretending all this time? This has nothing to do with you, Lin Yi said lightly. But aren't you also an Earth class mid-stage? Why are you releasing Golden class mid-stage true chi? Tagan Long's face changed after hearing Lin Yi's words. This was his biggest secret. How did Lin Yi know about it? Along the way, he didn't make a move or release his mid-stage true chi. Of course, he didn't know that Lin Yi had a cheat that could directly see his strength. This person must not be left alive. Only a few guardians and core members of the Tagan family knew that Tagan Long was an Earth-class mid-stage true chi warrior. If this news were to spread, it would be disadvantageous to the Tagan family. That place would never allow him to reveal his strength so early. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Tagan Long knew this very well. Fifth Guardian, destroy him. Tagan Long looked at Fifth Guardian and said coldly, Kid, you're right. Don't be greedy. Fifth Guardian had already finished healing and was slowly walking towards Lin Yi. He was very angry. He didn't expect that he would fail miserably in such an easy task. Lin Yi had been suppressing his strength all this time, and while he was healing, he'd actually killed the 8 protectors, almost threatening Tagan Long's safety. In fact, Lin Yi was also a little depressed. After he killed 8th Guardian, he wanted to directly kill 5th Guardian, who was healing. However, when Lin Yi saw that 5th Guardian had finished his cultivation, he gave up on the idea of sneaking an attack. For an expert like the 5th Protector, sneak attacks were useless. He had already healed himself, so it was time for a real battle. Give me those 2 spirit beast essences, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Kid, don't think too highly of yourself to kill 8th Guardian with a sneak attack. 5th Guardian had already seen that Lin Yi was an Earth class. However, he thought that 8th Guardian had died because he was too careless. He didn't expect Lin Yi to be an expert of the same level as him. So he was caught off guard and killed by Lin Yi's sneak attack. Of course, this was a reason, but it wasn't the main reason. 5th Guardian looked at the problem from his own point of view. He felt that he could also kill 8th Guardian with a sneak attack, but he neglected the fact that Lin Yi was only a mid-Earth class, not a peak late Earth class. You're going to kill me. Do you think I'll stand here and let you kill me? Lin Yi sneered at 5th Guardian. So what? You're weaker than me. Killing you is as easy as flipping my hand. 5th Guardian said coldly, Too many things happened today. I don't want to torture you. Hand it over, and I'll give you a quick death. Young Master Tagan Long will help you take care of your woman in the future. Hee, that's right. You should be able to see my feelings for you, right? Following me is better than following this useless man. In the future, you'll have a good life, and you'll have pills to eat when you cultivate. Tagan Long said with a smile. With 5th Guardian by his side, he wasn't afraid of Lin Yi at all. Chapter 22:17. Alright, I'll admit it. You've killed the 8th Protector, and your confidence is inflated. But the consequence of that is that you must stay here today. As he spoke, the 5th Protector's eyes turned cold, filled with a thick killing intent. It's still not certain who will stay here. Lin Yi was actually stalling for time. He was compressing the true chi bomb, but the 5th Protector probably wouldn't give him that much time. Stubborn fool. The 5th Protector sneered. 5th Protector, don't waste time with this kid. Kill him for me, but don't hurt the woman beside him. I still have to go back tonight, and let her warm my bed. Although Tagan Long had to kill Lin Yi to silence him, he couldn't kill Sun Jingyi, so he had to continue to show his hedonistic side. The 5th Protector nodded, and didn't say anything else. He moved his legs slightly, got into a horse stance and clenched his fists tightly. The true chi in his body reached its peak in an instant. The strength of a peak late-stage Earth class was completely revealed. Frenzy Fist 4th form. Seeing that he couldn't delay any longer, Lin Yi chose to take the initiative to attack. Powerful true chi once again burst out along with his fists, hitting each of the 5th Protectors. The 5th Protector's pupil shrank. Looking at Lin Yi's fists coming towards him, he sneered. An Earth-class martial technique? I'll let you see what a real Earth-class martial technique is. With that, the fifth protector's body moved. In just an instant he dodged Lin Yi's attack. His body made a circle, and directly went behind Lin Yi. With a sneer, he suddenly smashed both fists towards Lin Yi's back. Mountain Fist 10th form. Go to hell, kid. With a roar, the fifth protector's fists also smashed towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi was shocked. The powerful true chi fluctuations made Lin Yi's body sway a little. And this was under the situation where the fists hadn't hit Lin Yi's body. They couldn't welcome him. Lin Yi didn't expect the 8th guardian to be this strong, to be able to train up to the 10th form. But thinking about it, it was normal for an Earth-class late-phase peak master to be able to use the 10th form. If Lin Yi was hit, he would definitely be seriously injured. Vacuum oscillating fist. Lin Yi did not even look behind him. He threw the compressed true energy bomb in his hand. The next moment, Lin Yi broke into a run, and quickly dodged to the side, out of the range of the 5 protector's fists. Cheating. When the 5th protector heard Lin Yi suddenly shout something about vacuum oscillating fist, he thought that Lin Yi was going to meet force with force, so his movements paused slightly. Who knew that Lin Yi didn't even turn around and directly ran? So the 5th protector subconsciously raised his fist and continued to punch. But the next moment, the 5th protector felt that something was wrong. Although Lin Yi had left, he felt a strong true chi fluctuation coming towards him. But before he could react, he felt as if his fist had hit an energy ball. Bang! The 5th protector screamed in pain. Both of his fists were blown away, and blood flowed out. The flesh on both of his fists was blown away, revealing the eerie white bones. Why-ya-ya-ya-ya. The 5th protector looked at his fists, and the blue veins on his forehead bulged. He looked at Lin Yi with a gloomy gaze. He didn't expect Lin Yi to be able to hurt him. Lu Bozi, you've successfully angered me. But don't think that I can't do anything to you just because my fists are injured. I'm not a physical cultivator. I also practice martial arts for my legs. After listening to the 5th protector's words, Lin Yi suddenly frowned. He wanted to blow up the 5th protector's hands, so that he couldn't smoothly use martial arts. But he didn't expect that not only did he practice martial arts for his hands, but he also practiced martial arts for his legs. Is that so? Then I'll cripple your legs. After Lin Yi finished speaking, his figure quickly moved towards the 5th protector. He stretched out his fists and shouted, "Vacuum oscillating fist." Hearing these words, the 5th protector was subconsciously shocked, and his body subconsciously paused again. This was because Lin Yi's vacuum oscillating fist was too inexplicable. The 5th protector had never heard of this kind of martial arts. In a situation where the person didn't turn around, and the fists and feet didn't hit, he could still use martial arts. Moreover, the lethality of this martial arts was too great. Just looking at his own hands and the 8th protector's chest, this martial arts was too fierce. Therefore, the 5th protector was on full alert as he looked at Lin Yi. Looking at the fists that were aimed at his chest, he didn't dare to reach out and take it. Instead, he concentrated all the true chi in his body on his chest to protect his chest, so that he wouldn't be injured by Lin Yi's strange martial arts again. Previously, the 5th protector had completely felt the lethality of Lin Yi's vacuum oscillating fist. In his opinion, as long as he used all his true chi to protect his body, he could take on Lin Yi's move and not be injured. Moreover, the 5th protector was also very sinister. After he used his chest to block Lin Yi's move, he would take advantage of the close proximity of Lin Yi to directly use the 10th form of the mountain-splitting kick, and kick Lin Yi to death. Vacuum oscillating fist. Lin Yi shouted the vacuum oscillating fist, but in his heart, he was shouting the 4th form of the Wood Forest Thousand Transformations. Previously, Lin Yi had found inspiration from the Wildfire Fist and the Vacuum Oscillating Fist. Since both hands could do different things, could he use martial arts at the same time? Lin Yi planned to give it a try. The original move of the Wood Forest Thousand Transformations was 1 fist into 4 fists, but now that Lin Yi was using 2 fists, it would be 2 fists into 8 fists. Other than the 2 punches on the 5th protector's chest, in theory, Lin Yi could still throw out 6 punches. At the very least, he could throw out 2 more punches. Therefore, Lin Yi used a confusing move. He could see that the fifth protector wanted to use his true chi to protect his chest. Moreover, this kind of close combat attack also gave the fifth protector a chance to counterattack. This was the effect that Linny wanted. While the fifth protector was unprepared, he would give him another fatal blow. Bang! Bang! Without a doubt, the two punches landed on the fifth protector's chest. The corner of the fifth protector's mouth revealed a smile. This vacuum oscillating fist was only SOSO. Because of the true chi in his chest, he did not notice the difference between the vacuum oscillating fist and the previous one. He was excitedly preparing to use the 10th form of the mountain-splitting kick when he suddenly felt a violent pain. Bang! 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 Chapter 22:18. Moreover, if one were to talk about shamelessness, it was the Tagan family's people who were shameless first. Linny had only fought back shamelessly. Arrogant. The fifth protector's eyes almost popped out. The veins on his forehead bulged. He let out a mournful scream and directly knelt on the ground. He covered the area between his legs with both hands and gasped for breath. His family jewels had basically been completely blown up by Lin Yi's 6 punches. This was one of the weakest parts of the human body. This kind of pain was unbearable even for a cultivator at the peak of Earth-class late phase. The fifth protector didn't expect Lin Yi to be so insidious. What he didn't understand the most was that Lin Yi's 2 fists had clearly smashed on his chest. How could his crotch take 6 punches at the same time? Where did these 6 punches come from? This couldn't be blamed on the fifth protector's carelessness. No one would have thought that the 2 fists that had simultaneously smashed on his chest could also hit his crotch 6 more times. This simply didn't make sense. Therefore, the fifth protector's true chi was protecting his chest. He simply didn't spare any extra true chi to other places. Of course, this was also because Lin Yi's vacuum oscillation fist had caused too much damage to the fifth protector. Otherwise, the fifth protector wouldn't have been so careful to use all his true chi to protect his chest. And if Lin Yi had stopped after these 2 punches, perhaps the fifth protector would have used true chi to protect his body again before activating his martial skill. This was because from his perception, the 2 punches that Lin Yi had smashed on his chest didn't need to gather all his true chi to protect himself. He only needed to use true chi to protect his body normally. However, it was too late for regrets now. He was about to die from the pain. Taking advantage of someone's weakness was Lin Yi's style. In Lin Yi's mind, there was never any such thing as a fair fight. Lin Yi wasn't a knight. In essence, he was an assassin because his master was an assassin. The education that Lin Yi had received since young was that the process of killing wasn't important. The most important thing was the result. Moreover, if he couldn't win, he would run if he could. If he couldn't run, he would think of a way to kill his opponent. Therefore, when the 5 guardians were kneeling on the ground, gasping for breath, Lin Yi moved again. Frenzy fist 4th style. Lin Yi shouted in his heart, but he didn't say anything on the surface. His burning hot true chi transformed into a ball of flame that wrapped around his right fist, and he quickly punched towards the fifth protector's head. At this moment, the fifth guardian was circulating his true chi to heal his family jewels. Although his family jewels seemed to have been broken by Lin Yi, he still had a glimmer of hope and wanted to try and heal it. After all, if he was really crippled, then the joy of life would be halved. As a guard of the Tagan family, and one that was ranked at the top, he had quite a few concubines who indulged in debauchery every night. Now that he was crippled, he wouldn't even be able to enjoy the pleasures of a man in the future. That would truly be asking for his life. However, just as the fifth guardian was thinking about healing his injuries, Lin Yi's fist came again. However, with the experience of suffering the last time, the fifth guardian learned to be smart this time. He didn't use all his strength to protect his head, but mainly protected his lower body. This was because the 2 punches that Lin Yi had hit his chest previously were just SOSO in his opinion. There wasn't anything too outstanding. As for the 6 punches that hit his lower body, because they were continuous attacks and were the most vulnerable parts of the human body, they brought him more serious injuries. Therefore this time, He only left a small portion of true chi in his head. Most of his true chi protected his lower body. This was because the fifth guardian guessed that a sinister person like Lin Yi would probably still attack his lower body this time. Although this kind of killing fist was rather shameless, it was also very effective. Boom! Lin Yi's wildfire fist's fourth form directly smashed onto the fifth guardian's head, directly sending this guy flying. Although the fifth guardian also left some true chi protection on his head, it was definitely not much. Therefore, a tragedy happened. This time, Lin Yi didn't use the Wood Forest Thousand Changes martial skill, but changed to the wildfire fist. Although the Wood Forest Thousand Changes was strange, it scattered the power into a number of punches. If those 6 punches didn't hit the fifth guardian's lifeblood, then the fifth guardian absolutely wouldn't be injured like this. However, the wildfire fist was different. The fourth form of the wildfire fist was enough to be comparable to the fifth form of other martial skills. This punch from Lin Yi nearly gave the fifth guardian a concussion. "Brat, I'm going to kill you." The fifth guardian was sent flying. He crawled up from the ground shakily. His face was full of blood, and his expression was very sinister. He didn't expect to suffer again this time. This guy Lin Yi was simply too cunning. Not only did he have many martial skills, but they were also strange. Each time, it was different, making him unable to deal with them. Of course, although Lin Yi's punch was very overbearing, the difference between his level and the fifth guardian's was too great. Even if the fifth guardian didn't have much defense, this punch still couldn't cause fatal damage to the fifth guardian. The pain in his head and lower body stimulated the fifth guardian's ferocious nature. He took a deep breath and forcefully stabilized his emotions. The true chi in his body almost instantly soared. His blood-red eyes flickered with a thick killing intent. With a violent roar, he brought along a monstrous and fierce strength and fiercely rushed towards Lin Yi. Mountain-splitting kick 10th form. Lin Yi looked at the fifth guardian who was like a berserk leopard. His heart sank slightly. The strength of his opponent was far beyond his imagination. The fifth guardian was beaten up by him, but he still had such a strong combat strength. Fourth form of the wildfire fist. There was no other way. Lin Yi could only use his strongest martial skill, the wildfire fist, to fight head-on. The true chi bomb could not be used again in a short period of time. The 1,000 transformations of the wood forest was not suitable for a head-on clash. It was only suitable for a surprise attack. Boom! Lin Yi's fist and the fifth guardian's leg collided with a loud bang, producing a muffled thunderous sound. Lin Yi's body was sent flying. A head-on clash was indeed not a match for him. The fourth form of the martial skill and the 10th form of the martial skill were not on the same level. Even if the fifth guardian's martial skill was trash, it was still stronger than Lin Yi's. This was because the difference between the two was too great. Moreover, the fifth guardian's martial skill was not trash at all. Looking at Lin Yi who was sent flying, the corners of the fifth guardian's mouth formed a cruel smile. Killing intent surged in his heart. Today he had to kill Lin Yi. Otherwise, it would be difficult to resolve the hatred in his heart. Not to mention the fact that the 8th guardian had died at the hands of Lin Yi. Even if he was the 5th guardian's lifeblood, he did not know if it was still useful. Therefore, Lin Yi had to die. Chapter 22:19. Seeing that the 5 protectors had gained the upper hand, Tag On Long heaved a sigh of relief. Previously, Lin Yi's incomparable bravery surprised Tag On Long. This Lin Yi was really not simple. Was he already so powerful in the middle phase of Earth class? If the 5 protectors were not his match, Tag On Long might have to expose his strength to fight to the death with Lin Yi. But now, it seemed that there was no need for him to make a move. But Sun Jingyi, who was watching from the side, was extremely nervous. Previously, Lin Yi had the upper hand, and Sun Jingyi was very happy. But in the end, good times did not last long. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi's situation became dangerous. Although Sun Jingyi was not a cultivator, she was no stranger to fights between cultivators. She knew that the reason why Lin Yi had the upper hand before was not because Lin Yi's strength was higher than the 5 protectors, but because of Lin Yi's surprise attacks. But now, Lin Yi's moves had been seen through by the 5 protectors. So, the five protectors began a crazy retaliation and counterattack. But although Sun Jingyi was nervous, there was nothing she could do. There was nothing she could do to help Lin Yi. Bang! Another loud sound. Before Lin Yi could get up from the ground, the five protectors kicked him in the back and sent him flying again. Puffed! Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. His face instantly became extremely pale. His body flipped a few times in the air before landing heavily on the ground. Another mouthful of blood gushed out from the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he had suffered a serious internal injury. Lin Yi did not stand up before. Instead, he had been healing himself. Even when he was hit for the second time and flew into the air, Lin Yi did not leave the jade space. Instead, he continued to heal himself in the jade space. Lin Yi hoped that he could find a solution while stalling for time. However, Lin Yi discovered to his dismay that he could not stall for time. The injuries inflicted on him by the fifth protector were very serious. Every time he recovered, he couldn't even recover a third of the injuries inflicted by the fifth protector. In other words, Lin Yi's healing speed could not keep up with the speed of the five protectors' attacks. Still not dead? Very good, kid, don't die too quickly. I haven't tortured you enough yet. The fifth protector thought of the dead eighth protector and his own unknown injuries. A sinister sneer appeared on his face. He wanted to torture Lin Yi to death. When he thought of this, he was no longer in a hurry to kill Lin Yi. He came to Lin Yi's side and launched another kick. Mountain splitting kick, fifth style. This time, the fifth protector did not use the 10th style of the mountain splitting kick. Instead, he used the fifth style. His goal was simple. Lin Yi was already struggling at death's door. If he used the 10th style a few more times, Lin Yi would probably die very quickly. However, if he used the fifth style, he could play around and humiliate Lin Yi a few more times. Anyway, Lin Yi could not get up now, so he was not afraid of the fifth protector turning the situation around. Bang! There was another muffled sound. Lin Yi was sent flying again. He felt that the force of this attack had decreased a lot. Lin Yi heaved a sigh of relief. At least his recovery speed was faster. If only the fifth protector could reduce the force. Lin Yi, who landed on the ground, struggled for a while before lying on the ground like a dead dog. He was pretending. In fact, he still had the strength to get up and fight back. However, he did not. He wanted to show weakness, so that the fifth protector would reduce the force. Therefore, he pretended to be on the verge of death. I didn't expect you to be so weak. The fifth protector sneered, but he did not reduce the force. Mountain splitting kick, fifth style. He used the fifth style of the mountain splitting kick again. The fifth protector wanted to play around with Lin Yi, but he could not keep playing around like this forever. Lin Yi's body was sent flying again. When he landed, he struggled and vomited blood. Sun Jingyi saw this and became anxious. Suddenly, Sun Jingyi felt something in her backpack was scratching her back. Skybolt pig. It was the Skybolt pig. Sun Jingyi suddenly remembered that the Skybolt pig was still in her backpack. Could it be that the Skybolt pig had a good idea? Although she did not know what the Skybolt pig meant, the Skybolt pig must have a reason for calling her at this time. Sun Jingyi could only try her best. While Taganlong and Shiraz were focused on Lin Yi, she secretly opened her backpack. The Skybolt pig jumped out and disappeared into the bushes behind her. Seeing the Skybolt pig disappear in an instant, Sun Jingyi was slightly stunned. Although she did not know what the Skybolt pig was doing, it should be able to help Lin Yi. At this thought, Sun Jingyi could not help but look forward to it. Taganlong and Shiraz's attention was on Lin Yi, so they naturally did not notice Sun Jingyi's movements. This was because both Taganlong and Shiraz would not be wary of Sun Jingyi at this moment. She was a weak girl who had no martial arts, and had not even stepped into the golden class. What could she do? It was impossible for her to hide her strength like Lin Yi. Lin Yi was beaten to such a miserable state, but she still did not help him. This was a sign that she did not know martial arts at all. Sun Jingyi was extremely anxious, but there was nothing she could do. She could only watch as Lin Yi was sent flying again, and again by the five guardians. They humiliated Lin Yi like they were kicking a soccer ball, but she could not stop them. The five guardians could only kick Lin Yi again, and again, until he was sent flying like a ball. Only then could they vent their hatred. They did not kick him to death directly, but instead caused him to die in such a manner. It was enough to show how much they hated Lin. Lin had crippled him and made him unable to be a man. Then, he would make sure that Lin did not die in peace. He would make him suffer before he died. He wanted to break every inch of Lin Yi's bones and internal organs. He wanted him to die in pain. However, just as the fifth protector was having fun kicking, an earth-shattering roar suddenly came from not too far behind him. It was the great fire lion. It could not come back. It had left and returned. Behind the great fire lion were the little fire lion and the smug skybolt pig. The skybolt pig had the ability to find treasures, but it had another powerful ability, which was to find spirit beasts. It could find spirit beasts within a certain range. In fact, this was just the instinct of spirit beasts. Other spirit beasts could also find their own kind through aura. However, the skybolt pig's sense of smell and perception was stronger. Not only could it find its own kind, but it could also find other kinds of spirit beasts from a further distance. Finding people, treasures, and objects was the skybolt pig's innate ability. Although it could not see the situation outside when it was in the backpack, it could feel that Lin Yi was no match for it. Therefore, it asked Sun Jingyi to let it out, and it went to seek help from the great fire lion. Chapter 2220. Skybolt Pig also understood spiritual beasts like the fire lion very well. They were very clear about gratitude and grudges. If there was a grudge, they would definitely repay it. Therefore, when he found the big flame lion and the fire cub who were about to return to their nest, he told them about Lin Yi's situation with exaggerated details. The big flame lion was instantly furious. This was because Skybolt Pig told him that someone else had discovered that Lin Yi had secretly helped the fire cub, so he was being retaliated against. How could this be? When the big flame lion heard that his benefactor was being retaliated against because of his child, he hurried over to help. Who cared if the other party was still a member of the Tagan family? He would rather offend them than not save Lin Yi. Therefore, the big flame lion, the anxious fire cub, and the proud Skybolt Pig quickly rushed to the scene of the incident. Just when everyone was wondering why the big flame lion had returned, the fifth guardian felt a sudden gust of wind behind him, followed by a tearing pain. He saw with his own eyes that everything below his waist had been torn apart by the big flame lion's claws. This was the last scene he saw in this world. He didn't even know how he died. He didn't understand why the big flame lion had returned and suddenly attacked him. Of all things, it was him. This dramatic scene stunned everyone present, especially Tagan Long. He was still immersed in the pleasure of the fifth guardian torturing Lin Yi. The next moment, he fell into deep fear. Although he had hidden his strength, he was no match for the big flame lion. Seeing the big flame lion's ruthless attack, Tagan Long knew that he would be courting death if he went up. However, he couldn't figure out why the big flame lion had returned. Didn't it leave? Could it be that after it returned it got angrier and angrier, so it came back for revenge? Thinking of this, Tagan Long's face turned ashen. Hero Lion, I'm just here to watch the show. This has nothing to do with me. I'll leave immediately. I didn't attack your son just now. The big flame lion ignored Tagan Long for the time being. Instead, it quickly went to Lin Yi's side with the fire cub and Skybolt Pig. The fire cub looked sadly at Lin Yi, who was lying motionless on the ground. It stuck out its tongue, licked his forehead, and shed sad tears. The little fire lion thought that Lin Yi was dead, so it was naturally very sad. After all, in its opinion, Lin Yi had died to save it, which meant that it had killed Lin Yi. The fire lion was clear about gratitude and grudges. How could it be happy to see its benefactor die because of it? However, Skybolt Pig knew Lin Yi better. He carefully checked Lin Yi's situation, and found that Lin Yi was still breathing, and was not dead. He immediately explained to the big fire lion, and the little fire lion happily, Gigi. The Sky Thunder Pig was telling the great fire lion, and the little fire lion, that Lin Yi had the magical ability to heal himself. As long as Lin Yi was still alive, it would not matter. The great fire lion, and the little fire lion, were very surprised after hearing Skybolt Pig's explanation. However, when they thought of the little fire lion saying that Lin Yi could heal it quickly, the great fire lion no longer doubted Skybolt Pig's words and heaved a sigh of relief. Now that Lin Yi was fine, the top priority was to let Lin Yi recuperate in peace. Since Tagan Long did not make a move, they would let him go for now. It was just one of the 5th protectors. The Tagan family would not care too much about it. Therefore, the great fire lion gave up on the idea of making Tagan Long pay with his life. He was very smart. If he killed Tagan Long now, the Tagan family would definitely go berserk. Not only would he be in trouble, but Lin Yi would also be in trouble. When Tagan Long saw the great fire lion and the little fire lion's attitude towards Lin Yi, he felt a little strange. Why did they look so affectionate? Could it be that they came back this time to specially help Lin Yi? The more Tagan Long thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. The little fire lion was previously surrounded by Lin Yi, so why did it still help Lin Yi? However, although Tagan Long appeared to be an idiot, lecherous and arrogant, he was actually not stupid. He understood the fire lion's character. It knew how to repay kindness and distinguish between gratitude and grudges. Since that was the case, it meant that Lin Yi had helped the fire lion, so they came back to repay him. Help, yes. Thinking back to the time when the little fire lion seemed to be on the verge of collapse, it would run in front of Lin Yi and fight with Lin Yi. Then it would be full of vigor again. This must be something that Lin Yi had secretly done. Lin Yi had suppressed his strength to come up the mountain to carry out the mission. There was obviously a problem. How could he, a mid-earth rank expert, risk his life for a spirit-gathering pill? He would not care about those 5 spirit-gathering pills. Thinking back to how the great fire lion had pretended to teach Lin Yi a lesson, everyone else had died except for Lin Yi. If that wasn't a problem, then what was it? It seemed that Lin Yi was a spy and had secretly helped the little fire lion. After figuring this out, Tagan Long looked at Lin Yi with hatred, while the great fire lion, little fire lion, and Skybolt Pig's attention was on Lin Yi. He prepared to escape. He even dragged Sun Jingyi with him. However, just as Tagan Long was about to grab Sun Jingyi, Skybolt Pig cried out in alarm. Roar! The great fire lion roared at Tagan Long and pounced over. Tagan Long and Razy were scared out of their wits. The two of them could not be bothered with Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi anymore. They ran down the mountain in panic. At this time, Sun Jingyi had also recovered from the shock. She did not expect Skybolt Pig to be so fierce that he had called the little fire lion and the little fire lion over. As a result, the 5 guardians were directly met with tragedy. Skybolt Pig, little fire lion, thank you so much. Sun Jingyi breathed a sigh of relief. She could also see that although Lin Yi was badly injured, he was not dead. As long as Lin Yi was not dead, there would be no problem. As for Lin Yi's healing ability, Sun Jingyi was very clear. GG. Skybolt Pig nodded proudly. However, it indicated that this was what he should do. As for the little fire lion and the little fire lion, they smiled honestly and apologetically. They did not feel that they had helped Lin Yi. In their eyes, it was the little fire lion that harmed Lin Yi and suffered the revenge of Tagan Long. Let's leave this place first and find a safe place to heal. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground with his claws. However, after he finished writing, he wiped it clean after Sun Jingyi finished reading it, leaving no evidence. The great fire lion used its claws to gently lift Lin Yi on its back. Then the little fire lion led the way in front. The great fire lion carried Lin Yi in the middle, while Sun Jingyi and Skybolt Pig followed behind. They walked towards the middle of the mountain range together. The middle of the mountain range was the territory of the Fire Lion clan. The little fire lion directly led the way to their home. Chapter 22-21. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. After placing Lin Yi on a safe, soft straw cushion, Lin Yi was able to speak. He had been recuperating on the back of the great fire lion along the way, so his injuries were already half healed. Thank you very much, Lin Yi said gratefully. If not for the sudden appearance of the great and small fire lions, Lin Yi really didn't know what to do. The conflict this time was really a bit risky. However, it wasn't that Lin couldn't hold it in. The essence energy core of the spirit beast was just a fuse. Judging from Tagan Dragon's attitude towards Sun Jingyi, the conflict between the two would happen sooner or later. It was better to take the risk now than wait for Tagan Dragon to go back and find a more powerful expert to deal with it. No need to thank me. You are the benefactor of my Fire Lion clan. You saved the little Fire Lion. But because of that, you were attacked by the Tagan family. Our Fire Lion clan owes you. The Great Fire Lion spoke. But what shocked Lin was that it could actually speak the human language. Lin, on the other hand, was shocked beyond belief. Jingyi and Skybolt Pig, on the other hand, had their eyes wide with disbelief. It was already amazing that the Skybolt Pig could communicate by writing, but they didn't expect the Great Fire Lion to be able to speak the human language. It was even more surreal. It's not strange that some of the ancient spirit beasts that have entered the heaven rank can speak the human language with good aptitude. The Great Fire Lion saw the surprised expressions of Lin and the others, shook its head and explained, "The little guy beside you is also very powerful. When it reaches the heaven rank, it should be able to speak the human language." Lin listened to the Great Fire Lion's explanation and came to a sudden realization. He didn't expect the Great Fire Lion to be a heaven rank spirit beast. Lin had neglected it before. You are a heaven rank spirit beast? Doesn't that mean you can compete with a heaven rank master? Lin looked at the Great Fire Lion in surprise. You can't say that. Although spirit beasts are superior to human cultivators to a certain extent, their advantage will become smaller and smaller as their ranks increase. The Big Fire Lion explained. For example, we attack-type spirit beasts can contend with heaven rank initial phase experts at yellow rank. But when we reach heaven rank initial phase, we can only contend with heaven rank late phase experts. If we are both at heaven rank peak late phase, it's hard to say who will win. Oh, there's such a saying? Lin was surprised. Naturally, this is similar to your human external and internal cultivators. Before reaching the peak of heaven rank late phase, internal cultivators always have the advantage and are always ahead of external cultivators of the same rank. But once they reach the peak of heaven rank late phase, many external cultivators have the advantage. The Great Fire Lion nodded and continued to explain. For example, external martial arts such as Iron Fist and Golden Bell Cover. If cultivated to peak late heaven rank, it can be said that no internal expert at peak late heaven rank can match up to the practitioner of Golden Bell Cover, because no one can kill him. That's amazing. Lin was surprised. He did not expect that the Golden Bell sect had the potential to aspire to the top of the martial world. Of course, external cultivators are more difficult to level up the further they go. The Great Fire Lion said, "In the 1,000 years that I have lived, I know of only 2 people who have cultivated external martial arts to the extreme. They appeared in Jianghu more than 10 years ago. One attacked and one defended, and they cooperated well. These 2 people can be said to be invincible in the world. They had cultivated 2 external martial arts to the extreme. One should be similar to the Iron Fist, with infinite strength and invincible strength. The other should be similar to the Golden Bell Shield and the Iron Shirt, with a body as hard as steel, impervious to fire and water. I'm afraid that only the legendary Heavenly Dao Realm experts can shake these 2 people." Heavenly Dao. Lin took a deep breath when he heard this term. He had more or less heard this term before, but he did not have a clear answer. Legend has it that the level above heaven rank is called Heavenly Dao. Human cultivators are like this, and so are we spirit beast cultivators. But to reach this level, no one has seen it with their own eyes. It's just a legend. The Great Fire Lion said. Then, what about these 2 people? Lin asked curiously. He did not expect that there would be such powerful external experts in this world. They disappeared, along with a large number of experts at peak late heaven rank from various sects. The Great Fire Lion said. Since then, the rules of Jianghu have changed a lot. But these people are gone forever. A large number of experts at peak late heaven rank? Lin frowned, thinking of his missing master and Rock Candy's master. Could it be that they were part of the group that disappeared together? And his own master was also one of the experts at peak late heaven rank? What exactly was going on with all these things? But regarding his master's disappearance, old Lin must know some secrets from back then. But he did not mention it. He only told him that it was not the right time to know too much. And Lenny also knew that if old Lin did not want to say something, he would not be able to get it out of him. And he was not old Lin's opponent at all. This old man was very strange. It was as if he was strong, but he was also strong. No matter how much he cultivated, he would not be able to withstand one punch from this old man. One punch could directly blow him off the West Star Mountain. Now that he thought about it, he was already a mid-earth rank. Would he be a match for the old man? Lenny shook his head. The old man and his Shifu were really mysterious people. Hee, this is just a secret of Jianghu. It's just that the Wulong Haut mountain range that I live in used to be the location of an ancient sect, so I know more about it. Actually, I don't know the specifics. Where they went, what they did, I know that too, the Great Fire Lion said. At least I haven't heard anyone mention it again. All right. Lenny nodded, but suddenly thought of something very important. You said that the upper mountain range used to be an ancient sect? Yes, but not anymore, the Great Fire Lion said. What kind of ancient sect was it? Lenny asked. Chapter 22:22. All right, if that's the case, I won't ask any more questions. Lenny nodded. He had also seen through the Fire Lion's character and knew that it was useless to ask any more questions. However, Lenny was curious. Could Sun Jingyi's parents have something to do with that ancient sect? Or could it be that they had entrusted something to the ancient sect and preserved it? If it was the second possibility, it would be a little difficult. If the ancient sect was gone, then the things that were preserved would naturally be lost. Even if they found it, would there still be anything left? Seeing Lenny frown, the Great Fire Lion was a little curious. Could it be that you have something to do with the ancient sect here? Not really. Lenny smiled bitterly and shrugged. He didn't hide anything, and told them about how he had accompanied Sun Jingyi to find his parents' belongings. When they arrived at the Wulong Haut mountain range, they were completely clueless. Although they had a map, it only had a rough outline of the entire mountain range. The rest was a detailed map of a specific location. It was extremely difficult for Lin Yi to find the specific location of the entire mountain range. Although he had a treasure-seeking tool like the Skybolt Pig, the Skybolt Pig could only search for treasures. It didn't have the ability to find a map. Oh, you came here to find something? The Great Fire Lion was slightly taken aback. Then, can I take a look at the map in your hands? Of course. With the Great Fire Lion's willingness to help, Lin Yi was naturally happy. Moreover, he had no conflict of interest with the Great Fire Lion at all. He was still the Great Fire Lion's benefactor. After taking out the map, Lenny spread it out in front of the Great Fire Lion. The Great Fire Lion bent down and looked at it carefully. The little Fire Lion and the lioness also looked at the map curiously. Based on the shape of the mountain range on this map, this is indeed the Wulong Haut mountain range. The Great Fire Lion had been cultivating here for 1,000 years, so with one look at the map, he knew without a doubt that it was the Wulong Haut mountain range. However, knowing that it was the Wulong Haut mountain range was useless. When it saw the approximate location marked on the mountain range, the Great Fire Lion shook its head. According to the location on the map, this place belongs to the upper range of the Wulong Haut mountain range. We are now in the middle of the mountain range. Furthermore, I've never seen the terrain on this map before. As for the terrain of the middle and lower ranges of the mountain range, even if I can't say that I know them like the back of my hand, I'm very familiar with them. Therefore, I can confirm that this is not the middle and lower ranges. Upper vein, you've never been there? Lenny was a little surprised. No, the Great Fire Lion shook his head. We, the Fire Lion Spiritual Beast Clan, have an agreement with the ancient sect. We won't go to their territory. But didn't that sect already disappear? Moreover, according to the rumors, there are also ancient spirit beasts in the upper bloodline. Lenny said, it's true that that sect disappeared. However, there are still people active up there, and they are human heaven rank experts. The Great Fire Lion said, "The rumors in the outside world are not accurate. It's true that I have an agreement with the ancient sect, but now that they have disappeared, there are still some heaven rank experts up there. Therefore, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, we have no intention of going up there. Everyone mind their own business. It's not that our Fire Lion clan is afraid, but because our Fire Lion clan has sworn enemies in the middle bloodline." Sworn enemies? Lenny was slightly stunned. It's the spiritual beasts of another clan. The other party also has heaven-rank spiritual beasts. Although their combat power is weaker than ours, they have more clansmen. The Great Fire Lion gave a simple explanation, clearly not wanting to talk about these things. As the saying goes, a mountain cannot accommodate two tigers. The annual production of cultivation resources and heavenly treasures in the middle of the mountain range is limited, so there will naturally be conflicts and competition. I see. Since the Great Fire Lion didn't want to say more, Lenny didn't ask. Spiritual beasts had their own rules of survival, and Lenny wouldn't interfere with their fights. If the place you are looking for is in the lower bloodline or the middle bloodline, I can protect you. But in the upper bloodline, I can't help you. The Great Fire Lion said. However, I advise you to be careful. Although heaven stage experts don't appear there all the time, there will always be a few days in a year when a few heaven stage experts go there for a stroll. Benefactor, your strength is not enough to fight against them. Although the Great Fire Lion's words were a bit rude, Lenny also knew that good advice was harsh to the ear. He wasn't even a match for the fifth guardian, who was at the peak of Earth rank, let alone a heaven rank expert. Of course I know that. Lenny smiled bitterly. Of course, it might not be that coincidental. Seeing Lin Yi's bitter face, the Great Fire Lion smiled. At least, heaven rank experts aren't always around. Also, if you can't beat them, then run. As long as you run to me, I can still protect you. There are some restrictions near my cave. Even if 10 heaven rank experts come, they won't be able to get away with it. But the premise is that you have to successfully run back. Lenny nodded. These ancient spiritual beasts more or less had some great magical powers. Lenny didn't know what this restriction was or how it was made, but the Great Fire Lion spoke so confidently that it wasn't simple. My internal injuries haven't healed yet, so I can only borrow your place to heal for the time being, Lenny said. Of course, that's no problem. Benefactor, you can stay here for a long time. The Great Fire Lion said. The spiritual energy in the middle and upper veins is about the same, and there are special restrictions in my cave that can make it easier to absorb spiritual energy. You can cultivate here for a while. There's no need to cultivate. I'll leave once my injuries are healed. Lenny didn't care about the spiritual energy. With the space in the jade pendant, why would he need it? It could be said that Lenny had as much spiritual energy as he wanted. He didn't have to worry about it at all. All right. The Great Fire Lion didn't try to persuade Lenny anymore. I'll protect you. Don't worry, in my cave, no one or spirit beast will dare to come in. Lenny nodded and entered the space in the jade pendant to start healing. He had released compressed true chi twice before, so the true chi in his body had decreased quite a bit, so it was time to replenish it. Chapter 22-23. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios' Tagan family's relay station was located at the bottom of the Wulong Haut mountain range. The scattered pharmacists, small families, and gangs that went up the mountain to pick herbs had to pay a hefty commission before they could go up the mountain. Of course, you could also go up the mountain from other unguarded places. But there was only one way up the mountain. The other places were covered in dense forests, poisonous insects, and poisonous weeds. There was also the possibility of encountering ferocious beasts. Many of these small families and gangs that came to pick herbs weren't cultivators. Even if they were, their strength was relatively low, so it was better to spend some money to be at ease. Seeing young Master Tagon Long stumbling down the mountain with Razi, the Tagon family's protector 3, who was in charge of receiving them, immediately greeted them. Young Master Tagon Long, what happened? Why are you so flustered? I'm so angry, Taganlong wailed. But after shouting twice, he lowered his voice and said to the Protector 3, "We'll talk when we get back." Other than the Tagan family's men, there were also the Lu family and Shangguan family's men nearby. There were also people from the Fire Wolf gang and Red Conch family. Hence, Taganlong still acted very brainlessly and made a big fuss, making people think that he was a useless playboy. However, the Protector 3 was a core member of the core family. He was Taganlong's uncle, and naturally knew about Taganlong's matters. Hence, he immediately understood Taganlong's hint. Together with the yelling Taganlong, they quickly boarded the Hummer that they came from and returned to the Tagan family. In the Tagan family's secret chamber, the family's patriarch, the Great Protector, the Second Protector, the Third Protector, and Taganlong were sitting around a round table. These 5 people were the current core members of the Tagan family. The Tagan family's patriarch was currently Taganlong's grandfather, Tagango. The Second Protector was Tagango's eldest son, Tagansha, who was also Taganlong's father. The Third Protector was Tagango's youngest son, who was also Taganlong's uncle Taganmo. Actually, the Tagan family's protector was like the elders of other families and sections. It was just that in the families of Ruilida town, they were usually called protectors. As for the Great Guardian, he wasn't a member of the Tagan family, but he was also a heaven rank expert of the Tagan family. Of course, he was not the only heaven stage expert in the Tagan family. Tagangao's father was also a heaven stage expert. Moreover, his strength was even higher than the head protector. It was just that he was in closed-door training all year round. However, whether it was the clan leader, Tagango, the second and third protectors, Taganlong, or even Tagango's father, ancestor Tagan, they all followed the Great Protector's lead. It wasn't because of the Great Protector's strength. He was only at the early stage of the Heaven Realm. Moreover, he wasn't a core member of the Tagan family. He could only be considered a distant relative of the Tagan family, one that wasn't related by blood. However, his position in the Tagan family was transcendent. The reason was very simple. He came from an extremely mysterious place. If the Great Protector was the number 1 figure of the Tagan family, then Taganlong would be the number 2 figure of the Tagan family. This was because he was someone the Great Protector had high hopes for. Taganlong didn't hide anything, and told everyone what had happened after he ascended the mountain. At this moment, Taganlong was no longer the brainless wastrel he had been before. He spoke in a very organized manner. Hearing that the capture of the Fire Lion had failed, the Great Protector didn't care much. He waved his hand and said, "It's a failure as long as the person is fine." The Great Protector didn't have much of a reaction on the surface, but he let out a sigh of relief in his heart. If he had known that it would be so dangerous, he definitely wouldn't have let Taganlong take the risk to capture the spirit beast. If it wasn't for the fact that the Fire Lion was very sensitive to his aura, and that his appearance would have alerted the Fire Lion, the Great Protector would have definitely accompanied Taganlong up the mountain. As you said, it was that Zhang Naipeo who caused trouble. This person needs to be thoroughly investigated. Who is he and what is he doing here? The Great Protector didn't say much about the failure of the capture of the Fire Lion. Instead, he turned his attention to Linny. "Right, there's something important I need to report to the head protector," Taganlong said seriously, remembering Sun Jingyi all of a sudden. "Oh, what is it?" the Great Protector asked. The Great Protector showed us 2 pictures, and asked us to search for these 2 people. Taganlong said. "Oh, that's right." The Great Protector nodded. He did take out 2 pictures and asked the Tagan family to search for them, but they didn't find them in the end. He didn't expect Taganlong to bring it up again. "Great Protector, the woman in the picture is a beauty. That's why my memory is very good. The woman beside Zhang Naipeo looks very similar to the woman in the picture," Taganlong said. "So, I've been trying to get close to her, wanting to trick her back for the Great Protector to check. After that, because of a conflict, I wanted to forcefully kidnap her, but the Fire Lion ruined everything." "What? Are you sure? The woman beside Zhang Naipeo is the woman in the picture?" The Great Protector's eyes lit up as he asked quickly. shouldn't be wrong. But the picture is dead, and the person is alive. It's just that they look similar. I can't guarantee that I'm 100% sure, Taganlong said after some thought. That woman, how old is she? The Great Protector asked. Around 20 shouldn't be too old, Taganlong said. Around 20? Are you sure? The Great Protector was a little confused after hearing Taganlong's words. That should be the case. She and Naipeo both look really young, around 20, Taganlong said with certainty after some thought. That can't be right. The Great Protector shook his head. If it was that person, he'd be at least 40, almost 50. How could he be in his 20s? 40, 50? That's impossible. Unless she used some medicine to rejuvenate her youth. I wouldn't be that old. Taganlong was very sure of Sun Jingyi's age. Rejuvenation? The Great Protector shook his head and asked, what does that Zhang Naipeo man look like, compared to the man in the picture? Chapter 22-24. That's it, the head protector said. They shouldn't be the same person, but perhaps they are related to the two people I'm looking for. Otherwise, why would they appear in the Wulong-Heot mountain range so coincidentally? Why would they suppress their strength to participate in this mission to capture the Fire Lion? Even if these two people aren't those two people, they should be related to them. The head protector had stayed in the Tagan family all these years for two important missions. One was to protect and teach Taganlong martial arts. When the time was right, there would be a huge mission for him to do. The other mission was to monitor the Wulong-Heot mountain range and monitor the two people in the photo. These two people were lucky enough to escape from the encirclement. Although the chances of their survival were very small, it didn't mean that they were dead without seeing their corpses. Moreover, the place behind the Great Protector did not wish for these two people to die. This was because their motive for exterminating the sect was to plunder a precious treasure from this ancient sect. However, this precious treasure was hidden away. They had swept through the entire sect, but they had not found it. Thus, the head protector stayed here to keep an eye on the two of them. If they didn't die, they would definitely return to search for the precious treasure. At that time, the head protector would be able to seize the precious treasure and kill the two of them. And now, the head protector saw hope. Taganlong's information was very useful. If this person was really related to the two people from back then, he must have come to the Wulong-Heot mountain range for that treasure. Then the head protector could take advantage of them finding the treasure to make a move. Head protector, these two people, are we just going to let them go? They still have the inner elixir of two spirit beasts, Taganlong said. Naturally, we won't let them go. However, you don't have to worry about this matter. I'll handle it myself. The head protector said, don't go out for a while. Stay at home and practice. With your image of a playboy, you can go out for a walk every once in a while. As long as you don't let others notice you, it'll be fine. Yes, Taganlong hurriedly said. He was very happy. If the Great Protector personally took action, then all the problems would be easily solved. The clan meeting ended very quickly. To put it bluntly, the reason why the Tagan clan was able to rise so quickly in Ruele de town wasn't because of the clan itself, nor was it because Ancestor Tagan was a Heaven Stage expert. In the Lu clan and the Shangguan clan, there were also Heaven Stage experts keeping watch. The reason why the Tagan clan was able to become the head of the three great clans was because of the Great Guardian. Furthermore, the entire family served the head protector and Taganlong. As the patriarch, Taganlong's authority was actually very small. To outsiders, he might look impressive on the surface, but when he returned home, his son Taganlong's authority in the family meetings was actually lower. The clan meetings were completely presided over by the head protector. The reason why the Tagan clan was favored by the head protector, and the power behind him, was that they had accidentally discovered Taganlong's special physique. This physique was just right for them to do something big. However, Taganlong didn't know the specifics. Even Taganlong himself didn't know. The only thing Taganlong knew was that once this matter was done, Taganlong's status would be even higher than the head protector's. His martial arts would also reach the peak, and the Tagan clan would become a first-rate clan. Of course, this was under the premise that the matter was done. If it couldn't be done, then these promises would just be empty words on a piece of paper. Moreover, that matter was extremely secretive, and Taganlong's identity could not be exposed in advance to prevent any accidents. Hence, under the suggestion of the head protector, Taganlong had thought of a good way to make Taganlong a foppish young master to deceive others. If Taganlong kept hiding in the clan and didn't show himself, it would definitely arouse the suspicions of the other powers in the town. Instead of that, it was better to let him show himself in public. Everyone knew that he was a playboy, but no one would think that he had another special identity. This was also the so-called Great Seclusion in the city. The Great Protector had disappeared after the meeting ended. However, the Tagan clan had played down this matter very much. They hadn't mentioned the whereabouts of the Great Protector. The failure to capture the Fire Lion had also been deliberately exaggerated by the Tagan clan, causing rumors to spread in the small town. The rumors seemed to be both true and false. During the encirclement of the spirit beasts, all the mistakes were blamed on Tagan Dragon. The 5 protectors, 8 protectors, and 4 adventurers had all sacrificed their lives to protect Tagan Dragon. Hence, mocking laughter came from the other clans. This young Master Taganlong was really incompetent. Forget about being a playboy, he was actually such an idiot. Forget about the 4 adventurers. The 5 protectors and 8 protectors were the backbone of the Tagan clan. It was such a pity that they died. The news of Taganlong being grounded by Tagangao also spread, further confirming the previous rumors. This playboy young master had caused trouble. When Linny opened his eyes again, the sky was already dark. Sun Jingyi, the skybolt pig, and the big and small fire lions surrounded Linny. The lioness had brought a lot of food. Although they were all wild fruits, they were all top-notch fruits with heaven and earth spiritual energy. Consuming them was beneficial to cultivation. Mr. Lin, you're the most amazing person I've ever seen. The great fire lion looked at Lin Yi, who had recovered and returned to his peak state, and was very surprised. In such a short period of time, your injuries have completely recovered, and your energy has also returned to its peak. Hee. Lin Yi smiled. Thank you for taking care of me while I was recuperating. It's nothing. It's what I should do. The great fire lion said. You should be hungry. Eat something. There are some exotic treasures here. After consuming them, you can quickly recover your strength, and it's also very beneficial to cultivation. Jingyi, you eat. I won't eat. Lin Yi had just recovered his strength, so he was not hungry at all. Then I won't stand on ceremony. Sun Jingyi had been hungry for a long time, but since Lin Yi had not recovered, she did not eat alone. Hearing Lin Yi say so, she naturally would not stand on ceremony anymore. Mr. Lin, you're not eating? The great fire lion was a little puzzled. My strength has already recovered to its peak. Do I still need to eat? Lin Yi smiled. Chapter 22-25. I understand. Lin Yi smiled. Thank you. However, in order to repay you, I have a manual of your human's martial arts. It was left behind by my contracted master. The great fire lion looked a little lonely. Your master? You were someone's contracted spiritual beast? Lin Yi's eyes widened. A few hundred years ago, yes. The great fire lion said. But he left to pursue a higher realm, which is the so-called heavenly Tao. Then he never came back. He was the former leader of an ancient sect here. Ah! Lin Yi sighed in amazement. Everyone wanted to pursue a higher level of martial arts, but how many of them actually succeeded in doing so? This martial art was once the sect's signature martial art. It was one of the best martial arts techniques for fire tribute cultivators. The great fire lion said, You're a mid-earth class master, so you should be able to practice up to the 5th form of this technique. As long as you practice up to the 5th form of this technique, you'll be able to activate the fiery bullet at the same time you use this technique. This will temporarily increase the power of your technique to the 10th form. Inferno bullet? What's that? Lin Yi had never heard of such a thing. It's a fire attribute attack weapon, made from the breath of the Fire Lion clan. It's a one-time use weapon, the Great Fire Lion said. In this mountain range, our Fire Lion clan also has enemies. I don't have any, but the little Fire Lion and my spouse don't have any powerful attack power. They can only rely on the flaming god bombs I made to escape the enemy's attack. I see. Lenny nodded. It takes me a long time to make this inferno bullet. Plus, it's a consumable, so I only have 3 finished products. You'd better use it sparingly, the Great Fire Lion said. After using the fireball, the 5th move of the martial arts technique is equal to the 10th move, and the 10th move is equal to the 15th move, and so on. There is no upper limit, but the lower limit is the 5th move. Only when it is activated together with the 5th move of the martial arts technique can it achieve the effect of the 10th move of the martial arts technique. Otherwise, this fireball cannot be used before the 5th move. So powerful? Lenny listened to the Great Fire Lion's explanation and couldn't help but click his tongue in amazement. This Fire Stream God bullet could increase a martial skills level by 5 at once. That was equivalent to being able to fight against people of a higher level. That's right. However, the number of Stream Divine Fireballs is too low. Additionally, we need to keep 2 for ourselves in case of emergencies. Thus, we can only give you 3, Benefactor, said the Big Fire Lion with a slightly regretful tone. 3 is already quite a lot. Lenny wasn't a greedy person. He was already very lucky to have 3 of these magical items. If he had them before, he wouldn't have been in such a difficult situation when he fought against the 5 protectors. He just didn't know if that martial skill was easy to cultivate or not. As for what kind of martial skill it was, Lenny wasn't too worried. After all, Lenny had the experience of learning the Frenzy Fist and the 1,000 Changes of the Forest. He was still very confident in activating martial skills. However, Lenny could only activate up to the 4th form of martial skill. After advancing to Mid-Earth class, Lenny had also tried to activate the 5th form, the Frenzy Fist, and the 5th form, the 1,000 Changes of the Forest, but to no avail. As for the reason, Lenny guessed that it was because he hadn't consolidated his strength as a Mid-Earth class. But now it was different. Lenny had consolidated his strength as a Mid-Earth class. If he worked hard, he should be able to activate the 5th form of martial skill, right? This martial skill was left behind by my contracted master. There are a total of 30 forms. The Great Fire Lion was suddenly interrupted by Lenny. What? 30 forms? The Great Fire Lion's words immediately shattered Lin Yi's understanding. How can there be 30 forms? Aren't all martial skills in this world divided into 20 forms, regardless of whether they're superior, inferior, or not? It was no wonder that Lin Yi was surprised. When Faubert taught him martial skills, he had told him that the first 10 forms of martial skills could be activated by an Earth class, and the last 10 forms could be activated by a Heaven class. The martial skills he saw in the Hidden Han family also stopped at 20 forms. How could there suddenly be a 30-form martial skill from the Great Fire Lion? Haha, 20 forms. That's what most cultivators know. The first 10 forms of this martial art can only be used by those in the Earth rank, while the last 10 forms can only be used by those in the Heaven rank. Apart from my contracted master, who accidentally discovered this secret, the rest of the people in this sect, including the previous sect masters, only knew about the 20 forms. Big Flame Lion nodded and said, "It's precisely because my contracted master discovered the last 10 forms of this martial art that he became even more fanatical in his pursuit of the realm after the Heaven rank. Because he was at the peak of the late Heaven rank, his bottleneck was the 20th form, and he couldn't activate the 21st form no matter what. But according to his research and analysis, from the 21st form onwards, martial skills step into a whole new realm, an unprecedented height. Of course, you can just treat what I'm telling you as anecdotes. There's no need to deliberately pursue anything." I understand. Lenny knew that the Great Fire Lion was warning him not to bite off more than he could chew. The reason why I haven't told the successor of this martial skill, and the last 10 forms of this martial skill, is also because I'm afraid that they'll bite off more than they can chew. or that they'll wholeheartedly pursue a higher level of martial arts and neglect the proper business. The Great Fire Lion said, "And the reason why I'm passing this martial skill to you is because there's no successor in this sect. I'm passing this martial skill to you in the hope that you'll pass it on in the future, so that it won't be lost." Good. Before I reach the peak of the late heaven class, I won't try to study the last 10 forms. Lenny nodded and promised. The Great Fire Lion nodded, and then took out a thread-bound ancient book from a secret compartment in a corner of the cave. He handed it to Lin Yi and said, "I suggest you practice here. If you can practice to the 5th form before going up the mountain, that's the best. But if you can't, you can go up the mountain tomorrow morning. I won't stop you." Lin Yi couldn't wait to take the thread-bound secret book. However, he was shocked speechless by the 3 big words on the cover of the secret book. Because on the cover of the secret book was written, "Frenzied Fire Fist." Chapter 22-26. Did these 2 Frenzy Fiery Fist martial skills have the same name? Or were they originally the same one? Thinking of this, Lenny quickly opened the Frenzy Fiery Fist secret manual in his hands. With just one glance, Lenny was dumbstruck. It was actually exactly the same. It was exactly the same as the Frenzy Fiery Fist that Faubert had imparted to him. Not a single word was different. At least, the mantra for the first 10 moves was exactly the same. What was going on? Lin Yi's mind went blank, a little messy. The few scattered things suddenly came together, and it seemed like a miracle and a coincidence, but it wasn't a coincidence at all. Phew. Lin Yi took a deep breath, and carefully recalled what Faubert had said. He was originally the young master of an ancient sect, but because of a treasure in the sect, his sect was exterminated. And on this Wulonghout mountain range, there used to be an ancient sect, but this ancient sect had now vanished into thin air. Was this a coincidence or an overlap? Big Fire Lion, may I ask, was the ancient sect on this Wulonghout mountain range destroyed by someone? Lin Yi asked seriously. Oh, why are you asking this? A trace of vigilance flashed across the Big Fire Lion's eyes. What do you know? Nothing. I just want to confirm a fact. As Lin Yi spoke, he placed the Frenzy Fiery Fist secret manual that the Big Fire Lion had given him aside. Suddenly, he activated his inner force mantra and began to activate the Frenzy Fiery Fist martial skill. From the first move, he smoothly used it all the way to the 4th move. Then, Lin Yi began to try activating the 5th move, but his attempt failed. However, even if he failed, Lin Yi was still pleasantly surprised. He could clearly feel the aura of the 5th style that was about to break out of his body. It was just that he was too impatient. He was eager to demonstrate his frenzied fire fist to the Great Flame Lion. He wanted to know the truth from the Great Flame Lion's mouth. In Lin Yi's mind, there was already an extremely shocking and bold conjecture. Moreover, this conjecture was gradually becoming clearer. If it could be confirmed, Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi with a complicated gaze. Frenzied Flame Fist. You actually know Frenzy Fist? The Great Fire Lion stared at Lin Yi in disbelief. What's your relationship with the sect on the mountain? That's right. You guys went to the upper vein to look for things according to the map. It must have something to do with the ancient sect in the upper vein. Why didn't I think of this? When the Great Fire Lion said this, a look of realization appeared on his face. Without the permission of Faubert and Grandma Sun, Lin Yi absolutely could not reveal their identities. Moreover, his enemy was unknown. If he exposed it, he was afraid that it would cause trouble. That's right. If the answer to my question is yes, then I have something to do with the people in this sect on the mountain, Lin Yi said. You're right. They were indeed exterminated. The Great Fire Lion sighed. So that's the case. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Then didn't you help? I'm just the contractual spiritual beast of the previous sect leader of this sect. He's gone, so I have no obligation to protect the others in this sect. The Great Fire Lion shook his head and said, In this sect only he helped me. However, the rise and fall of a sect is a normal thing. He didn't ask me to help him protect this sect. Moreover, there were many heaven stage masters at that time. I was no match for them at all. Lenny nodded and hesitated for a moment. There were still some things that he didn't say. Now Lenny had basically confirmed 4 things. The first thing was that Faubert and Grandma Sun were the young sect leader and young madam of the ancient sect that was exterminated on the Wulonghout Mountains. The second thing was that Sun Jingyi's parents. If Lenny was right, it should be Faubert and Grandma Sun. This point, when he thought of what Sun Yikai had told him about Sun Jingyi's background, he could basically confirm that Sun Jingyi was not a member of the Sun family. Her surname was changed after she returned to the Sun family. But at that time, she was very young, so she was not very clear about these things. And she had such a map on her. And the location on the map was Faubert's sect, the Wulonghout Mountains. Then, the relationship between Sun Jingyi and Grandma Sun was basically obvious. No wonder Lenny saw that Grandma Sun and Sun Jingyi were very similar. At first, Lenny didn't think much about it. Grandma Sun was a member of the Sun family, and Sun Jingyi was also a member of the Sun family. They were relatives, and it was normal for them to look similar. But now it seemed that the third thing was another map. That map was given to him by the late-stage heaven-stage strange old man. But he called him Li Er. Faubert's current name was Li Fu, but that was his alias. His real name was Fu Li. Could this Li Er be Faubert's master? If this was the case, then all the mysteries could be explained. He was Faubert's master, so naturally, he had half of the map. Sun Jingyi was Faubert's daughter, so she also had half of the map. This world was really small. The fourth thing, which was also the most important, was that the thing on the map was not the relic left by Sun Jingyi's parents, but the treasure that caused the destruction of this sect. Sun Jingyi's parents were not dead, so there was no relic. The strange old man also mentioned that the thing on the map was a treasure. These 4 things gave Lenny a headache. Should he tell Sun Jingyi the truth? Although these were all Lin Yi's inferences and guesses, it was probably not far from the truth. After hesitating for a moment, Lenny still planned to go back and discuss it with Faubert and Grandma Sunday. Otherwise, it was not the right time to tell Sun Jingyi. Whether it was true or not, it would inevitably affect Sun Jingyi's mood. Secondly, Lenny still had to carefully consider this matter. The fourth style, if you work hard, the fifth style should not be a problem. Lenny said, I think there is no problem. The big fire lion nodded. Just now your momentum was already out, but it was impatient. As long as you practice more, you should be able to successfully activate it in a few days. A few days? Lenny smiled and did not say anything more. Instead, he directly operated the internal cultivation method and began to activate the frenzy fist. Chapter 22-27. He was not demonstrating to the great fire lion, nor did he want to prove anything. Therefore he calmly executed the last style, the fifth style. An unprecedented hot flame turned into a beautiful fire dragon, bursting out from Lin Yi's right fist. The strong flame formed a fireball in the air and hit the stone wall of the cave. But Lin Yi's heart was filled with guilt as he unleashed this move. He knew the power of the first 4 moves of the frenzy fist, and now that he'd unleashed this move, the wall of the fire lion's cave would probably have a huge hole in it. Phew! The lion pounced at Lin Yi, opening its mouth and swallowing the fireball Lin Yi had sent out in one gulp. It was as if it had just had a full meal, and it was very satisfied. That works too. After Lin Yi finished his move, he looked at the great fire lion with some surprise. This is energy for me, said the great fire lion. Energy? A bitter smile crossed the corner of Lin Yi's mouth. This thing can also be used as energy? Yes, with this energy, plus my previous accumulation, I estimate that by the time you go down the mountain, I can still complete a fireball bomb, said the great fire lion. But to be honest, you can actually execute the fifth style of frenzy fist in such a short period of time. You are really a genius that I have seen in 1,000 years. Genius? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Whether he was a genius or not, Lin Yi was not sure. But the art of dragon mastery and the martial art that came with it were definitely a genius mental cultivation method and a genius martial art. At least, I have never heard of anyone who can execute a new martial art in such a short period of time, said the Great Fire Lion. I am going up the mountain tomorrow. How do I use this fireball bomb? Asked Lin Yi. You just need to hold it in your hand and activate it together with the fifth style, Frenzy Fist. The Great Fire Lion explained how to use the Inferno Bomb. I thought you would stay here for a while, but you've already activated the fifth move, Frenzied Fire Fist, so I won't hold you back. Be careful. Thanks a lot, Lin Yi said sincerely. Not only did the Great Fire Lion give him 3 Fire Stream God Bombs, but Lin Yi's biggest gain was the Frenzied Fire Fist martial arts manual. It turned out that this martial skill had 30 forms, not 20. You're welcome. Our Fire Lion clan will always remember your life-saving grace. If you need anything, you can come to the Wulong Haut mountain range to find us at any time, said the Great Fire Lion. I can come back to get more stream fire magic bullets after I've used them up? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat after listening to the big Fire Lion's words. Sure. The Great Fire Lion nodded without hesitation. However, I'm afraid I can only make 1 more this year. Come back at this time next year. I can at least provide you with 3 more. Lin Yi did not expect the Great Fire Lion to be so grateful. He was touched. Lin Yi helped the Fire Lion cub, but at the critical moment, the Great Fire Lion also helped him to deal with the 5 protectors. Moreover, he gave him 3 Fire Stream God Bombs and a Frenzied Fire Fist manual. This kindness had far exceeded what Lin Yi had given. Lin Yi only treated the Fire Lion cub when it was injured. The Great Fire Lion's generosity was beyond Lin Yi's imagination. It seemed that the Fire Lion clan was really grateful for a drop of water. Forget it. Since you treat me like this, then I will also give your Fire Lion clan some benefits. Lin Yi quickly made up his mind. If I'm not wrong, the Fire Lion cub and the lioness haven't stepped into the yellow rank, right? That's right. The Great Fire Lion did not understand what Lin Yi was talking about, but when he heard Lin Yi's question, he still answered truthfully. The lioness is just an ordinary lion with a higher aptitude and spiritual intelligence than a normal lion. There is still a gap between her and the Fire Lion clan. However, in our Fire Lion clan, I am the only one that has been passed down for thousands of years. If I want to reproduce, I can only find a lioness with a higher aptitude. The Fire Lion cub's bloodline is relatively pure, but the cultivation of us spiritual beasts relies on the consumption of heaven and earth treasures to accumulate. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth does not help us much in leveling up. These fruits and heaven and earth treasures for cultivation are limited in the Wulong Haut mountain range. This is also the reason why our Fire Lion clan has conflicts with another spiritual beast clan. Lin Yi nodded. He knew this long ago. The Skybolt pig relied on swallowing heaven and earth treasures in the ancient tomb to level up. Little Fire Lion, come here for a moment. Although the Fire Lion cub was a little confused, it obediently ran over when Lin Yi called. Lin Yi carried it in his arms and entered the space of the jade pendant. He began to circulate the 2nd level of the art of dragon mastery. Suddenly, pure and majestic energy poured into the Fire Lion cub's body. The Fire Lion cub was shocked. However, it soon realized that Lin Yi had no evil intentions. On the contrary, Lin Yi was using a very strange method to transfer true chi to it to level up. The Fire Lion cub's strength suddenly increased. Very soon, it broke through the threshold of the yellow rank and became an early yellow rank spiritual beast. The Fire Lion cub and the lioness felt the changes in the Fire Lion cub. When they saw that the Fire Lion cub had become an early yellow rank spiritual beast, they were immediately shocked. On the other hand, the Skybolt pig and Sun Jingyi weren't surprised. They knew Lin Yi's ability. Under the surprised gazes of the Fire Lion cub and the lioness, the Fire Lion cub's strength continued to soar. From the early yellow rank, it directly jumped to the peak of the early yellow rank. Then, without stopping, it immediately entered the middle yellow rank. This kind of leveling speed scared the Fire Lion cub. It had lived for 1,000 years. Now that it had become a heaven-rank spiritual beast, it was also an existence that was very rare among spiritual beasts. After all, the current thin heaven and earth spiritual energy didn't have much effect on spiritual beasts. They could only level up by consuming large amounts of heaven and earth treasures. When the fire lion cub was young, it had several opportunities and swallowed a few top-grade heaven and earth treasures. That was why its strength was able to improve so quickly. Even so, it took 1,000 years to enter the heaven rank. And at this moment, it witnessed with its own eyes that its child, the fire lion cub, had suddenly become a middle yellow rank spiritual beast. No, it was now at the peak of the middle yellow rank. Very soon, the fire lion cub discovered that the fire lion cub had become the late yellow rank, and then the peak yellow rank. It looked at everything that was happening in front of it in disbelief. Was this real? Chapter 22-28. It was only half a step away from the early phase of mystic class. The lion knew exactly how much pure chi was needed for a spirit beast to level up. It was much more than a human practitioner. How much pure chi did Lin Yi use to level up the little fire lion? The lion knew that Lin Yi was touched by the passion of the fire lion clan and wanted to repay them. But there were many kinds of repayments, and he didn't have to do this, right? After all, who didn't train hard to get their pure chi? If he gave it to someone else for no reason, wouldn't his own strength drop by a few levels? Thinking of this, Big Fire Lion wanted to stop Lin Yi, but he remembered that Lin Yi was working hard to transfer pure energy to the little fire lion. If he wasn't careful, it was very likely that all his previous efforts would be wasted, or he might even go crazy. So, Big Fire Lion didn't dare to disturb Lin Yi. At the same time, the little fire lion had already entered mystic class, becoming a mystic class early phase spirit beast. And that wasn't the end of it. Lin Yi was still helping the little fire lion increase its strength. Peak early phase, mid phase, peak mid phase, late phase. Only when it reached the peak late phase did Lin Yi stop and let out a long sigh of relief. He put the little fire lion aside. Although the fire lion was in some pain when it broke through the armlet, the fire lion race had strong willpower. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to fight the 3 golden class masters to the end without any hesitation. My abilities are limited, I can only do this much. The peak late phase of mystic class is the limit of what I can give it. Lin Yi looked at the flabbergasted lion. This, Mr. Lin, you gave all your strength to the little fire lion, then you. The lion looked at Lin Yi hesitantly. Haha, I'm fine, I just need to rest for a while. Lin Yi said, Lioness, it's your turn now. The lioness was just a normal lion. If Lin Yi wasn't here, she might not even have the chance to enter the golden class, let alone level up. To put it bluntly, it was a problem with its bloodline. Its body didn't have the bloodline of an ancient spiritual beast. Even if it ate heavenly treasures and fruits every day, it would already be amazing if it could reach the golden class in this lifetime. Spiritual beasts were different from humans. Once they reached the yellow rank, their lifespan could be extended indefinitely. The great fire lion wanted the lionesses to step into the yellow rank, but he couldn't do whatever he wanted with their strength. After all ancient spiritual beasts were passed down from generation to generation. Their bloodlines would slowly evolve, and they couldn't become ancient spiritual beasts with just 1 or 2 generations. Due to the bloodline issue, the lioness training progress was already very slow. If the lioness couldn't enter the golden rank within a few decades, then she could only leave quietly. This was not what the Great Fire Lion wanted to see. Therefore, when the Great Fire Lion heard Lin Yi's words, it was extremely excited and surprised. Can it do it too? The Great Fire Lion looked at Lin Yi hesitantly and reminded him, it doesn't have the bloodline of an ancient spiritual beast, after all. The Great Fire Lion was afraid that Lin Yi would forget that a lioness wasn't an ancient spiritual beast. It was extremely difficult for a normal animal to enter the yellow rank compared to an ancient spiritual beast. Even though it was hard enough for ancient spiritual beasts to level up, it was basically impossible for ordinary animals. Otherwise, if it was so easy for normal animals to enter the yellow rank, spiritual beasts would have been everywhere in the world and wouldn't be so rare. Of course, no problem. Of course, without General Weiwu as a living example, Linny wouldn't dare to guarantee it. But with General Weiwu as an example, Linny was sure that after his own level up, the lioness would also become a fake ancient spiritual beast. After all, Lin Yi's art of dragon mastery and the space in the jade pendant were almost like a bug. She just needs to enter the yellow rank. She just needs to enter the yellow rank. The great fire lion looked at Lin Yi excitedly and knelt down in front of Lin Yi. He said to Lin Yi respectfully, "Mr. Lin, you are the benefactor of my fire lion clan, a great benefactor. Although I already have a contract master, I swear that as long as Mr. Lin needs it, the Fire Lion clan will treat Mr. Lin like the contract master." Hee, let's see the results first. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't think that the Fire Lion would be this agitated. He just felt that the help he'd given the Fire Lion clan was far from what he'd given them. That was why he'd helped the Fire Lions level up. As Lin Yi spoke, he squatted down and grabbed the lioness meridians. The lioness was relatively large, so it was impossible for Lin Yi to carry her like he did with the little fire lion. Although Lin Yi could carry her, Lin Yi felt that it was too much trouble. With the little fire lion as an example, although the lioness felt a strong and pure qi flowing into her body, she wasn't too surprised. Instead, she silently gritted her teeth and endured this internal force, expanding it back and forth in her meridians. The lioness was just an ordinary lion. Her meridians hadn't been completely expanded, so Lin Yi had to help her expand her meridians first. Fortunately, everything was automatically done by the second level of the art of dragon mastery, so Lin Yi didn't have to waste any brain power and energy. He just had to continuously circulate the second level of the art of dragon mastery in the space in the jade pendant. To put it bluntly, Lin Yi didn't gain or lose anything. He had been doing useless work. When his body was in the space, he acted as a medium and transferred the energy in the space in the jade pendant to the lioness. Yellow rank. The time it took for the lioness to enter the yellow rank was longer than the little fire lion. However, it still crossed this hurdle in the end. This was the most important hurdle in its life. As long as it entered the yellow rank, it meant that it had become a spirit beast. The lioness naturally knew what this meant. In the future, she could stay with the big fire lion for a long time, and she wouldn't leave before she saw the little fire lion grow up. She was very excited. The big fire lion and the little fire lion were also very excited. They didn't expect that the heart disease that had troubled them for many years would be easily resolved at this moment. After entering the yellow rank, the lioness's leveling speed was much faster. It was almost the same as the little fire lion's leveling speed. Very quickly, she went from the early yellow rank to the peak of the early yellow rank, the middle yellow rank, the peak of the middle yellow rank, the late yellow rank, the peak of the late yellow rank. This kind of rapid leveling speed could be said to be unprecedented. The big fire lion didn't know what to say, or how to express it in words. Even the little fire lion, who had endured Lin Yi's leveling up before, was shocked at this moment. Chapter 22-29. But seeing the lioness leveling up as quickly as it did in front of Lin Yi, the cub was dumbfounded. The lion and the cub looked at each other and saw the excitement in each other's eyes. They never thought that they would meet such a benefactor. Lin Yi helped the cub, and the lion thought that Lin Yi was with the others on the surface. It wasn't good to thank him at that time, but it almost gave him a fatal injury. It was all thanks to the Skybolt Pig's call for help, and the lion never thought that Lin Yi's help wasn't over. Fire lions knew how to repay favors, and the lion felt that Lin Yi had saved the little fire lion's life, and it couldn't thank him enough. As a result, it gave him the Firebolt and Frenzy Fist manuals. But Lin Yi gave them an even more powerful favor, which was unexpected for the lion and the cub. They all knew that it was very difficult for the lioness to level up to the early phase of the golden class. But Lin Yi had already turned her into a mystic class early phase spirit beast, and her strength was still skyrocketing. In the end, the lioness' strength was the same as the cub's, at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class. This kind of strength, if there wasn't a fortuitous encounter, not to mention 1,000 years, Even thousands of years might not be able to reach this level. The big fire lion had a fortuitous encounter. But it didn't mean that the cub and the lioness would also have a fortuitous encounter. So the fact that Lin Yi could raise their strength to the peak of the late phase of the mystic class made the whole family ecstatic. "It's done," Lin Yi said. "Thank you, benefactor," the big fire lion said solemnly. The cub and the lioness didn't know how to speak yet, but they could understand Lin Yi's words. Both of them prostrated on the ground, expressing their gratitude to Lin Yi with great sincerity. Early the next morning, Lin Yi bid farewell to the Fire Lion clan and prepared to go to the upper range of the Wulongheot mountain range. Although the Great Fire Lion knew that the upper range was potentially dangerous, he also knew that Lin Yi would not stop because of his dissuasion. He could only bid farewell to Lin Yi at the entrance of the cave. Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi and Skybolt Pig walked towards the upper vein. As expected, after entering the upper vein, the scenery was completely different from the middle vein. There were not as many jungles and bushes in the upper mountains. Instead, there were rugged rocks and all kinds of broken walls. As for the mountain path, it was much easier to walk than before. There were clear stone steps leading to the top of the mountain. On the roadside, there were some dilapidated stone pavilions and some buildings that were so damaged that they could not be recognized. These all showed the past glory of this place. This was an important place of an ancient sect. However, the ancient sect had disappeared, and this place had become a ruin. Of course, Lin Yi did not relax at all. Although this place looked quiet, and there were no birds or beasts, Lin Yi always remembered what the Great Fire Lion said. There were often human heaven rank experts appearing here. "My parents, are they from this sect?" Sun Jingyi recalled the scene. Looking at the dilapidated scene on the road, she could not help but think of her parents. "It should be." Lin Yi nodded and said, "Otherwise they would not have left you this map. That heaven-rank eccentric lunatic knows my parents." Sun Jingyi sighed and said, "I'm afraid that when this sect was destroyed, my parents were also." In Sun Jingyi's heart, she had always had a glimmer of hope for her parents. Although the people in the family said that both her parents were dead, before there was any definite news, Sun Jingyi would rather believe that her parents might still be alive. However, when she arrived here and saw the dilapidated place, Sun Jingyi's confidence was shaken. "Don't be discouraged. Maybe they are still alive." Lin Yi already had a guess in his heart, but it was not good to tell Sun Jingyi now. "And thank you." Sun Jingyi nodded gratefully. To be honest, she was very grateful to Lin Yi. Lin Yi accompanied her from thousands of miles away to come here, and almost lost his life in the hands of the Tagan family's fifth guardian. All of this made Sun Jingyi feel touched. This was beyond the friendship between normal friends. It wasn't something that could make Lin Yi run all the way for her, just because they were half lovers. A touch of faint feelings arose in Sun Jingyi's heart. However, she didn't say it out, because there were too many women around Lin Yi. It wasn't that Lin Yi had a lot of girlfriends, but there were too many people who liked Lin Yi. The competition was really fierce, and Sun Jingyi appeared as a joke from the beginning. Now that the joke became real, would it cause Meng Yao and Yushu's hostility? These two were the two girls who had the closest relationship with Lin Yi. If Lin Yi wanted to find a girlfriend, he probably had to listen to their suggestions. What's there to thank? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. No news about your parents is good news. I'm not talking about that. Sun Jingyi blushed slightly, a little embarrassed. Then what is it? Lin Yi was even more puzzled. Thank you for coming here with me. And thank you for everything you have done for me, almost paying with your life. Sun Jingyi said solemnly and gratefully. This is what I promised you. Lin Yi said. Actually, to me this is also a kind of experience. Seeking breakthroughs in dangerous situations is also a kind of pursuit in martial arts. Okay. Sun Jingyi knew that this was the kind of person Lin Yi was. For friends, for family, for lovers, he would do anything. If we want to know the exact location on this map, we must go to the top of the mountain. Only by going to the top of the mountain will we be able to see the whole mountain, Lin Yi said as he looked at the map in his hand. And Sun Jingyi nodded. Although Sun Jingyi was not an ordinary cultivator, She was also similar to a cultivator. Her physical strength was quite good. The two of them almost didn't rest. They walked all the way up the mountain. They set off in the early morning, and it was now noon. They were close to the top of the mountain. Of course, this was because Lin Yi considered Sun Jingyi's speed, so he deliberately slowed down his walking speed. Otherwise, if Lin Yi went up the mountain alone, his speed would probably be much faster than now. When the two of them stood at the top of the mountain, it was already afternoon. Looking at the magnificent walls and the ruined palace in front of them, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi's hearts were full of emotions. There was probably a fierce battle here in the past, so it was destroyed to such a state. The original magnificent building was now in ruins. Lin Yi sighed, and he felt a little strange. What kind of huge and terrifying force could destroy an ancient sect? Chapter 2230. Even at the ancient level, there were strong and weak sects. But overall, the gap should not be too big. To be able to establish a sect here for thousands of years, it should not be a small sect. But to exterminate them just like that, it was simply inconceivable. And the most terrifying thing was Faubert did not even know who the enemy was. Did he really not know? Or did he not want to say? Thinking of this, Lin Yi frowned slightly. Even if the ancient Feng family was weaker, and the Everyday After Sun sect was stronger, it did not mean that the Everyday After Sun sect could destroy the ancient sect. Not to mention the ancient level. Even in the hidden level, those hidden families wanted to suppress the hidden Han family. But this ancient sect was destroyed just like that? Just how powerful was the power that caused this? Moreover, this treasure. How useful must it be for a sect to be destroyed? This place, just from the outside, you can tell how glorious it used to be. I didn't expect it to be destroyed like this. Sun Jingyi said with a sigh. Didn't Big Fire Lion say it? The rise and fall of sects is a common thing in the world. There is nothing to be sad about. Lin Yi advised. Sun Jingyi nodded, and the two of them walked through the gate of the sect. What they saw was all kinds of ruins. Houses, palaces, everything was broken and messy. It did not look like it was naturally damaged because no one took care of it. After all, this sect was destroyed only a few decades ago. How old was Faubert? How old was Sun Jingyi? Such a broken place, without 100 years of disrepair. It was impossible. But it did not look like it was caused by a battle between two sides, but more like it was man-made. That's right, it was man-made. Thinking of the ruins he saw along the way, Lin Yi suddenly realized. Fu Bo's sect was exterminated because of that treasure. However, that treasure was hidden by the strange old lunatic. This group of bandits who came to exterminate the sect naturally didn't miss any corner in order to find that treasure. They searched everywhere, so it was normal for the inside to be destroyed to this extent. Since they could not find the treasure, smashing the buildings here was also in line with their mood. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi were standing in a grand hall at the highest point of the mountain. This grand hall was majestic, with some ancient Greek architectural style. The grand hall was like a huge pavilion, supported by stone pillars. Under the feet were pieces of green bricks, and above, there was a huge eave. However, everything here was made of stone. Thinking about it, this place should have been the place where the ancient sect gathered and practiced martial arts, or held important activities. However, at this moment, there were broken walls everywhere. Many stone pillars had fallen, and more than half of the main hall's roof had collapsed. But even so, it could not cover up the grandeur of this place. Standing in this grand hall, the topography of Wulonghout mountain range could be said to be panoramic. Although they could not see clearly, the general outline was still very clear. Lin Yi took out the map and gave it to Sun Jingyi. Based on the position on the map, they began to determine their current location and destination. The map was scanned and printed by Sun Jingyi, so Lin Yi and her each had a copy. GG. As if feeling the majesty and magnificence of the grand hall, Skybolt Pig could not help but cry out loudly. Don't be noisy. Lin Yi was observing the topography. Even if Skybolt Pig was excited, Lin Yi would not care about it. Go play by yourself. GG. Skybolt Pig was a little wronged. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi each stood on one side, and based on the position on the map, they began to search. Wulonghout mountain range was very big, especially the upper range, which was even more vast. Thinking about it, this upper range was once the most prosperous area in Wulonghout mountain range. This continuous green mountain was the place where the disciples of this ancient sect cultivated. But in just one night, it was turned into ruins. To be able to establish a sect here was indeed a very great and fascinating thing. Although Lin Yi's eyesight was not bad, and Sun Jingyi had also browsed the topography of Wulonghout mountain range on the internet, it was not easy to find the exact location from this upper range. Because the map was very sloppy, there were no specific coordinates or landmark buildings. It was completely just a topographic map, so searching for it increased a lot of difficulty for Lin Yi. In the blink of an eye, the sun had almost set. Sun Jingyi sighed. It seemed that even if she was anxious, it was useless. Take a break for a while, eat something? You eat. I will look for it again. It seems that there is some progress. Lin Yi said. If we wait any longer, the sun will set. We have to make good use of this time. That's good. I will accompany you to find it. Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi did not eat, and she was embarrassed to eat alone. So she picked up the map and continued to search. I don't eat because I can cultivate, but you don't eat, aren't you hungry? Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi and smiled bitterly. You don't have to care about me. How can I do that? You're doing this to help me. How can I eat it? Jingyi insisted. Lin Yi had no choice but to seize the time to look at the terrain. Half an hour later, when Lin Yi's gaze moved from the farthest mountain range to the nearest mountain range, Lin Yi suddenly had a feeling of wanting to cry. Because Lin Yi suddenly found that the rough terrain marked on the map was exactly the same as the terrain at the top of the mountain under his feet. This made Lin Yi have a feeling that he had found the iron filings without any effort. Dare I ask where the road is? The road is under your feet. However, this couldn't be blamed on Lin Yi. Generally, when people stood on the top of the mountain, if they were looking for the terrain, they would start from the farthest place in front of them and narrow the range all the way. Finally, they would look in front of them, from far to near, so that it was not easy to miss anything. However, because of the order problem, it made Lin Yi waste half a day in vain. As a result, the terrain marked on the map was under Lin Yi's feet, which made Lin Yi speechless, seeing Lin Yi's strange and hesitant expression. Sun Jingyi was also a little puzzled. Lin Yi, what's wrong with you? The place indicated on this map is under our feet. Lin Yi pointed to the terrain on the map and said, Under our feet? Sun Jingyi was stunned. Chapter 22:31. Oh. Sun Jingyi listened to Lin Yi's words and looked at the map in her hand in shock. She didn't know if she didn't look at it, but when she looked at it, she was shocked. Just like what Lin Yi said, if the pillars and broken walls in the hall were removed, the shape under their feet really matched the map. However, when they entered the hall at the top of the mountain, everyone's first impression was probably the magnificence of the hall. They also paid attention to its spectacular appearance, but they ignored the green bricks under their feet. The shape formed by the green bricks, looking closely, was not regular because the top of the mountain was not regular. Therefore, even if the hall was built in a regular pattern, the green bricks were not regular and covered the entire top of the mountain. And the shape formed by this area was the picture on the map. Sure enough, it seems that it is so obvious. But we ignored it. Sun Jingyi smiled bitterly. I finally understand one thing. What is the most dangerous place is the safest. This is a hall. It is the most prominent place. And the location of the thing marked on the map is here. Lin Yi said in amazement. However, I think that anyone who comes here will unconsciously focus on this hall. Yes. Sun Jingyi said. If you didn't remind me, I would continue to look around. Moreover, I searched from near to far. But even so, I ignored the hall under my feet. Instead, I started from the bottom of the mountain and expanded in all directions. Lin Yi nodded. Since we have determined the location, let's find the specific location according to the detailed map. Now that the sky is not completely dark, we can still use the afterglow of the sunset to search for a while. With a general direction, it is much easier to search again. Although the map is very rough, we can roughly determine the location from the map. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi worked hard together and quickly determined the general location on the map. Skybolt Pig. Lin Yi called Skybolt Pig, but he found that Skybolt Pig was lying on the green bricks not far away, looking very bored. Gigi, the Skybolt Pig called out weakly. Skybolt Pig, according to the map, this should be the area. Help me look around and see if there's anything hidden around here. Lin Yi asked Skybolt Pig. Gigi, the Skybolt Pig weakly called out twice and pointed at the ground with its paw. What do you mean? Lin Yi was stunned. Rawr. The Skybolt Pig pointed at the green bricks under its feet with its front paw again. You mean, the thing is here? Lin Yi's eyes widened. Gigi, the Heavenly Thunder Pig nodded. So, you've already found it? Lin Yi suddenly remembered that when they arrived at the top of the mountain, the Skybolt Pig kept squeaking nonstop. Could it be that this little thing had already found it? Gigi, the Skybolt Pig nodded again. Fuck. Lin Yi was speechless. Then why didn't you say so earlier? Lin Yi was speechless. This little pig had already found the place when they first came up, but he thought it was excited, so he ignored it and let it play by itself. In the end, he and Sun Jingyi wasted half a day's effort and did a lot of useless work. Gigi, the Skybolt Pig pointed at its mouth and pointed at the green bricks with its paw. Then it shook its head. Lin Yi understood what it meant. The Skybolt Pig meant that it couldn't speak, and the green bricks were very hard, so it couldn't write on them. Lin Yi sighed at the Skybolt Pig's action. He looked at Sun Jingyi with an awkward gaze. This was his mistake, which led to the current situation. If Lin Yi paid more attention to the Skybolt Pig, maybe he wouldn't have to put in so much effort. It's not your fault, I didn't pay attention at the time. Sun Jingyi didn't know whether to laugh or cry about this. The Skybolt Pig actually found the target from the start, while she and Lin Yi foolishly wasted a lot of time. But it's a good thing to be able to find it. In the end, everything went smoothly, and there were no accidents. That's true. Lin Yi nodded. On the top of the mountain, Lin Yi was most afraid of the appearance of the heaven-ranked master that the Great Fire Lion mentioned. But now the whole mountain was quiet. Other than him and Sun Jingyi, there was no one else. Lin Yi squatted down and carefully pried up the green brick that the Skybolt Pig pointed at. For an Earth-ranked master like Lin Yi, this was an easy thing to do, but after he pried up the brick, there was only mud below, and there was no hidden compartment. Are you sure it's here? There's nothing here? Lin Yi looked at the bottom of the green brick with some doubt. Gigi. The Skybolt Pig nodded with certainty. He stretched out his front paw and pointed at the bottom of the green brick, indicating to Lin Yi that the thing was below, but it might be under the mud. Okay. Since the Skybolt Pig was so sure, then Lin Yi didn't say anything more. He picked up his hands and started to dig. This kind of hard mud was not difficult for Lin Yi. He just needed to use his hands to dig. However, after digging a few times, Lin Yi didn't feel anything strange. But since the Skybolt Pig was so confident, then Lin Yi continued to dig. After digging for about 30 centimeters, Lin Yi's hand touched a hard object. It seemed to be a metal box. Lin Yi's heart was happy. There was really something there. He quickly increased his digging speed and dug out the thing quickly. This was a very plain-looking metal box. It didn't have the slightest bit of magnificence, but it could be seen that the workmanship of this metal box was very good. There was also a sealing tape at the gap to prevent the inside from soaking in water. You found it already? Sun Jingyi looked at the small metal box in Lin Yi's hand. She was suddenly surprised and happy, and her heart was very excited. The secret of her parents that she had been looking forward to and fantasizing about for so many years could perhaps be solved through this small metal box. Just when Lin Yi wanted to say something, the jade pendant on his chest suddenly sent out a warning signal. Danger! Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He didn't expect that what should come would finally come. Originally, Linny thought that although this trip to the Wulong Hout Mountains was bumpy, the final result would be good. But what Linny didn't expect was that this wasn't the end. Perhaps, the danger and battle had just begun. Chapter 2232. After that, Linny stuffed the iron box into Sun Jingyi's arms. I'll go meet the enemy later. Protect yourself carefully. See how many enemies there are. If there's only one, you can run to the Great Fire Lion to take refuge. Don't worry about me. Sun Jingyi wanted to say, how can I do that? How can I run away alone? But seeing Lin Yi's determined gaze, Sun Jingyi sighed and didn't say anything. She was extremely nervous. She didn't expect that the enemy would come at this time, when they found the thing. It really is you guys. A deafening laughter came, making people feel uncomfortable. You guys, you made me wait for a long time. It's been more than 10 years. I've been waiting here, waiting day and night, hoping for the stars and the moon. But in the end, I wasn't disappointed. In the end, someone still appeared here. Who are you? Lin Yi's cold gaze swept towards the direction of the voice. The one who came had ill intentions, and the kind didn't come. Before, Linny didn't notice that there was someone on the mountain, so there were only two possibilities. One was that this person had just arrived, and the second was that this person's strength was much higher than Lin Yi's, and he was good at hiding his strength. Moreover, before Lin Yi found the thing, he didn't show any hostility. If it was the second possibility, then the enemy in front of him was a very scary one. But Lin Yi also knew that the possibility of the second possibility was much higher than the first. You don't need to know who I am. The figure of the person who came quickly floated over and appeared 10 feet away from Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi. He was wearing a black bagua robe, and his attire was as strange as it could be. He was about 40 years old, and from the aura he emitted, Lin Yi could see his strength. An early-stage heaven-class master. However, although he was only an early-stage heaven-class master, Lin Yi could clearly feel that he was different from the early-stage heaven-class masters from the hidden aristocratic families. Compared to this heaven-rank initial-stage expert, those hidden aristocratic families' heaven-rank initial-stage experts were simply too weak. Although their strength levels were the same, their auras were completely different. This person was a formidable opponent. In this situation, Lin Yi didn't have any doubts. Most of the heaven-rank experts of the hidden aristocratic families relied on pills, or natural treasures, to forcefully increase their strength. Those who truly relied on themselves to break through were few and far between. And this person in front of him definitely relied on his own strength to break through to heaven rank. This was just like how if Lin Yi and an expert of the same rank were together, Lin Yi could instantly kill an 8th protector of the same rank, but the 8th protector would definitely not be able to instantly kill Lin Yi. This was the same principle. Which force do you represent? Lin Yi asked faintly. Were you the ones who destroyed the ancient sects here? If Lin Yi's guess was correct, then Lin Yi could more or less determine the identity of this early-stage heaven rank expert. You're quite smart. The early-stage heaven rank expert said faintly. He was the Tagan family's great protector. Of course, whether it was this identity or his true identity, he wouldn't tell Lin Yi. Even if Lin Yi was only a person who was about to die in his eyes, he still couldn't casually say anything about that place. However, many smart people have short lives. The great protector didn't answer Lin Yi's question and instead said, hand over all the good things on you, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Everyone knows how to talk big. If you want the things in my hands, you'll have to beat me first. When Lin Yi said this, his confidence was clearly lacking. At that time in the hidden aristocratic family's meeting, he had deceived those early-stage heaven-rank old fellows to the point that they didn't dare to make a move. He created the illusion that he was invincible under heaven rank, and could even contend against heaven rank experts. However, this person in front of him, Lin Yi could feel that he wasn't as timid as those heaven-rank old fellows. This person was definitely a ruthless character. Beat you? An Earth-ranked mid-stage expert dares to say this in front of me? You're really overestimating yourself. The Great Protector looked at Lin Yi with some ridicule. Obediently hand over the things on you, and I can guarantee that your woman won't die. At this moment, the Great Protector also clearly saw Sun Jingyi. At this moment, he could conclude that this person wasn't the person they were looking for back then, but someone who looked somewhat similar. But even so, this person was definitely related to that person back then. Therefore, the Great Protector couldn't make the decision, and had to bring her back to that place, and let those higher-ups decide. Since that's the case, then you can go die, old thing. As Lin Yi said this, he threw a true energy bomb over. Then, he also threw the fifth style of Frenzy Fist together, with the Firestream God Bullet. Boom! A thunderous sound rang out in front of the Great Protector's chest. Then, Lin Yi also threw the fifth style of Frenzy Fist, towards the Great Protector's chest. Since this guy had appeared in front of him, Lin Yi couldn't avoid fighting him. Therefore, Lin Yi's first move was a killer move, leaving no room for maneuver. Lin Yi definitely couldn't outrun a heaven rank expert. No matter how exquisite Lin Yi's movement technique was, he still wasn't a heaven rank expert's opponent. In front of an earth rank expert, or those heaven rank old fellows from the hidden families, Lin Yi had the confidence to escape. But against someone like the Great Protector, Lin Yi had no confidence at all. They came and went like the wind, similar to Aunt Ching and Little Miss Rock Candy that he saw in the Ice Palace. They were real heaven stage experts, completely different from those heaven stage experts who used elixirs and heavenly treasures to improve without actual combat experience. Especially with Sun Jingyi by his side, Lin Yi couldn't escape alone, so he could only fight with the Great Protector. The Great Protector didn't expect that an expert of Lin Yi's level would dare to attack a heaven rank expert. This made him shocked and angry. Although Lin Yi's attack wouldn't cause too much damage to him, he was still very angry. This was Lin Yi's contempt towards him. Previously, the Great Protector already knew what happened when they surrounded the Fire Lion at the foot of the mountain range. Although Lin Yi took advantage of the 8th Protector's unpreparedness and killed the 8th Protector, he was beaten up by the 5th Protector like a ball. If it wasn't for the Fire Lion, Lin Yi would have been kicked to death. Chapter 2233. This also caused Lin Yi's attack to hit the bodyguard. Not only did the energy bomb explode on the bodyguard's chest, Lin Yi's fifth form of Frenzy Fist combined with the Inferno God Bomb also hit the bodyguard's body. By the time the bodyguard used his chi to protect his body, it was already too late. He was still injured by Lin Yi. Although it was a light injury, it was a great humiliation to the bodyguard. The guard's face was filled with hatred and anger, his red eyes staring at Lin Yi. His chest was in turmoil from Lin Yi's attack, and he needed to circulate his practitioner's arts to calm it down. He said with a savage face, "Good, very good. Kid, I've underestimated you. You can actually use such a powerful technique. If I'm not wrong, this technique of yours already has the power of the 11th form, right?" Lin Yi didn't think that his full power attack would only cause the bodyguard's blood to surge. It was just a breath's time, and the bodyguard returned to normal. Lin Yi's heart sank. He was still a little too weak. The hidden noble house meeting made Lin Yi's confidence expand to the limit. But after coming to the Wulong Haut mountain range, he was hit again and again. "It's fine if you don't tell me. I don't want to know your secret," the bodyguard said faintly. "I have to say, among the young generation, you do have some skills. But you dying by my hand is not an injustice. Even if you're the pride of an ancient sect, it's not an injustice. Why are you fine? My move just now was equivalent to the 11th martial skill. You are an early stage heaven stage expert. At most, you can only use the 11th martial skill. Even if you use true chi to protect your body, it is impossible for you to be unharmed, right?" This was what Lin Yi didn't understand the most. When Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi were attacked, he fought with the Earth-class black-clothed man. The black-clothed man's strength was even higher, but he couldn't withstand Lin Yi's technique. But this person in front of him didn't seem to be injured at all. "You really want to know?" The head protector faintly smiled and said, then there's no harm in telling you. I'll let you die knowing. This move of yours has power and momentum, but your true strength is lacking. You only relied on unorthodox methods to increase your strength. The strength of your true chi is far from enough. You might be able to deal with ordinary heaven rank initial phase experts, but you're out of luck to meet me. After listening to the head protector's words, Lin Yi's expression suddenly changed. He didn't expect things to develop to this point. This was the most difficult and headache-inducing battle for Lin Yi. Before the fight even started, Lin Yi already wanted to retreat. If what the head protector said was true, then Lin Yi really wasn't his match. Hey, since you're so confident, why don't you take 5 of my moves? If you can take 5 of my moves, I'll give you the item, and you can do whatever you want with it. Lin Yi hesitated for a moment before saying with some reluctance. Lin Yi's suggestion stunned the head protector. He didn't expect that Lin Yi would make such a strange request at this time. However, it had to be said that Lin Yi's suggestion made the head protector a little tempted. Although Lin Yi was nothing in his eyes, and taking Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi's lives was as easy as turning over his palm, he was afraid that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi would run away separately. If Sun Jingyi ran away, he would definitely chase after her. However, if Lin Yi ran away, there would be some variables. If Lin Yi really ran away with the inner elixir of the 2 spirit beasts, and ran to the great flame lion's side, then he really wouldn't be able to do anything. Of course, the treasure in Sun Jingyi's hands was much more important than the inner elixir of the spirit beasts. However, the head protector didn't want to miss out on Lin Yi's inner elixir. The head protector nodded slowly at this thought and said, "All right, in that case, how about I take 5 of your moves?" "All right, then I'm going to make my move." Lin Yi relaxed and started to compress the energy bomb. On the surface, Lin Yi seemed to be dawdling, as if he was executing a move. "Are you going to make your move?" The head protector frowned when he saw that Lin Yi wasn't making his move and asked impatiently, "Of course I'm going to make my move. Shouldn't I take some time to prepare? My previous swift and fierce attack didn't do anything to you. This time, I'll have to prepare more and come up with a ruthless move." Lin Yi said. "Hurry up." The head protector coldly snorted. "Come up with a ruthless move." Although he didn't know what Lin Yi was dawdling about, he thought that Lin Yi probably wanted to take advantage of the head protector's unprepared and attack him. However, the head protector sneered in his heart. "Do you think you can sneak attack a heaven stage expert just because you want to?" "Soon," Lin Yi said. The head protector was somewhat speechless. He thought, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm afraid of trouble, and that you'll run away with the inner elixir of the spirit beasts, I wouldn't be bothered to play this game with you. However, Lin Yi was still standing there unhurriedly. It seemed like he was about to make a move, but it also seemed like he wasn't. No one knew what he was doing. Sun Jingyi was worried. She wanted to let the heavenly thunder pig inform the great flame lion to come up and help. However, when she thought of what the great flame lion had said before, she gave up on this plan. If the great flame lion could accompany them up the mountain, it would have already accompanied them. It didn't come up naturally, because it had its own difficulties. Therefore, Sun Jingyi couldn't force it. She could only look at Lin Yi very worriedly. She didn't know what he wanted to do. Lin Yi was now dragging it for a minute. Since the 11th style of the frenzied fire fist couldn't do anything to the head protector, then the only thing he could rely on was the true chi bomb. The true chi bomb was a tried and tested magic weapon of Lin Yi. No matter what level the opponent was, they would still be blown to pieces. However, the disadvantage of this move was that it took a long time to use. If the enemy didn't give Lin Yi time, then Lin Yi would be powerless. "Are you done? If you don't make a move, I'll change my mind." Although the head protector didn't know what Lin Yi was stalling for, he eventually became impatient and shouted at Lin Yi. "Oh, I'll be done soon." Lin Yi said, "You're a senior master. Shouldn't you give a junior like me some time to prepare?" "You can prepare, but what do you want to do? Could it be that you're stalling for time?" The head protector wasn't stupid. Lin Yi's strength was obviously in the middle phase of the Earth stage. No matter how powerful he was in his opinion, he wouldn't be able to turn over a storm. Therefore, Lin Yi's behavior at this time was a bit suspicious. Chapter 2234. Then he continued. I was injured yesterday, and it was very serious. You also know that the move I used on you just now has consumed a lot of my energy, so I need to recover. Then hurry up. The guard naturally knew about Lin Yi's injury. After hearing what he said, he felt that it was reasonable, so he nodded. Got it. Lin Yi responded faintly, but he was sure of his guess in his heart. This person was most likely sent by Tagan Long. Lin Yi also had some plans for him to appear here at this moment. Yesterday, only Tagan Long and Shiraz knew about Lin Yi's injury. The others were all dead. Just now, when Lin Yi mentioned that he was injured yesterday, the guard didn't look surprised. Instead, he looked like he understood, which indirectly proved that he knew about this news. Now, the only thing that Lin Yi wasn't sure about was the relationship between this guard and the Tagan family. In Lin Yi's opinion, the Tagan family shouldn't have the ability to destroy the ancient sect that Faubert was in. They couldn't even deal with a small fire lion, let alone a huge ancient sect. However, if Faubert's sect wasn't destroyed by them, where did this guard come from? How did he know about the treasure? The only explanation was that the Tagan family and Faubert's enemies were inextricably linked. The guard waited for another 10 minutes or so, and finally couldn't take it anymore. Kid, are you done yet? If you don't make a move, I'll personally send you on your way. Lin Yi sighed in his heart. He was still far from it. He had only condensed 1/3 of the energy. This energy bomb could probably cause fatal damage to the 5 guards yesterday. But Lin Yi didn't have the slightest confidence in dealing with this person in front of him. However, on the surface, Lin Yi nodded solemnly and said, Here it comes. Take this. Frenzy Fist first form. As he spoke, Lin Yi struck out with the first form of Frenzy Fist. However, this form was only practiced in the air, and did not attack the Great Protector at all. Moreover, Lin Yi tried his best to slow down the speed of his punches, without affecting the progress and power of his Frenzy Fist. Meanwhile, Lin Yi's left hand was still continuously compressing the energy bomb. When the guard heard that Lin Yi was about to use his martial skill, he didn't retaliate. He just used his Zhen Qi to protect his body. He said 5 moves, so 5 moves. He was a sky-class master, and one that came from that place. How could he go back on his words to a little Earth-class master? Therefore, the head protector had no intention of counterattacking. Instead, he was prepared to receive Lin Yi's attack head-on. However, when he was ready, Lin Yi directly hit the air, making the guard speechless for a while. Was this guy crazy? After preparing for a long time, he practiced a move in the air. Even so, the head protector didn't pay attention to Lin Yi. He snorted coldly, and continued to use his Zhen Qi to protect his body. Frenzy Fist second form. Lin Yi continued to use his martial skill. However, this time it was still a self-practiced move. He had no intention of attacking the head protector. Kid, are you trying to numb me and then ambush me? The head protector deduced and guessed at Lin Yi's intentions. He guessed that Lin Yi didn't have the confidence to fight him head-on. So he was looking for an opportunity. He was practicing to confuse the head protector, and make him lower his guard, so that he could ambush him. This was the only thing that the head protector could think of. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't really use his first 2 forms. What was he playing at? Frenzy Fist third form. Just as the head protector was thinking, Lin Yi had already activated the 3rd form, Frenzy Fist. Even if Lin Yi had slowed down, the activation of martial skills was about consistency. Only by stacking one move after another, and completing it in one go could the power of the last form be exerted to the extreme. Before, Lin Yi directly activated the 5th form, Frenzy Fist, and a small Zhen Qi bomb. But it didn't do anything to the head protector. So this time, Lin Yi was ready to give him a more ruthless attack. Of course, if the more ruthless attack didn't work, then Lin Yi could only study the escape route. Frenzy Fist 4th form. Lin Yi's 4th form, Frenzy Fist, had already been activated. The head protector frowned and said, You've already used 4 moves. There's still the last move. If you don't use it, then it's considered as you using it. He had to remind Lin. If Lin finished the fifth form and said that he was just warming up and didn't hit him, so it didn't count as a move, then the head protector would definitely go crazy. Oh, I know, Frenzy Fist fifth form. As Lin spoke, he activated the fifth form of Frenzy Fist, and at this moment, Lin Yi's figure moved. The head protector's eyes narrowed, and a sharp glint flashed across his eyes. He sneered in his heart. Sure enough, the previous 4 moves were all feints, and the last move was the ultimate move that he was waiting to unleash. However, so what if it was an ultimate move? Even if the previous 4 moves were all feints, and Lin Yi had also rested for a long time before activating this final move, in the head protector's eyes, Lin Yi was only a crossbow with a strong bow. According to the descriptions of Tagonlong and Shiraz, Lin Yi must have been seriously injured by the fifth protector's kick. However, even if he had guessed Lin Yi's intentions, the head protector still stood there casually. He was confident that with his true chi protection, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to hurt him at all. As long as he could withstand this move from Lin Yi would obediently hand over the treasure in his hands, and the head protector wouldn't have to do anything. Bang bang. As Lin Yi's figure shuttled back and forth, there were 2 loud sounds. It was the true chi bomb, and the fifth form of Frenzy Fist, combined with the Firebolt God's Bullet to form an even more powerful 11th form. Puffed! A mouthful of blood spurted from the head protector's mouth. He looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. He couldn't believe that he was actually injured by a small mid-earth class master. To be able to break through his true chi protection, even an ordinary master of the same level would have some difficulty. However, Lin Yi had successfully broken through his true chi protection and actually injured him. After Lin Yi's attack, he didn't stop. Instead, he used the fifth form of Forest Phantom Thousand Changes again. 2 fists turned into 10 fists, and all of them landed solidly on the head protector's chest that Lin Yi's true chi bomb had broken open. Although these 10 fists weren't as powerful as the fifth form of Frenzy Fist, combined with the Firebolt God's Bullet, the Frenzy Fist could only display its great power when it was completed in one go. If it was used alone, it might not be as effective as the Forest Phantom Thousand Changes. Chapter 2235. After the 10 punches, Lin Yi looked at the Great Guardian, who had recovered from his shock. He immediately turned around and quickly retreated. He didn't want to have a direct confrontation with the Great Guardian. The frenzied fire fist combined with the flaming god bombs had already injured the Great Guardian. The 10 punches that followed made the blood in his chest rise, and he spat out another mouthful of blood. However, this kind of injury was only a minor one. It really couldn't hurt the Great Guardian. Even so, the Great Guardian's face was very gloomy. He raised his hand and used his sleeve to wipe off the blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked at Lin Yi coldly. Very good, you have some skills. However, it's just so. Hey, old thing, it doesn't feel good, does it? Lin Yi sneered at the Great Guardian, but his mind was racing. Can I take this opportunity to escape? What are the chances of success? Your last move, if I'm not wrong, should be 3 moves. The Great Guardian wasn't stupid. After a careful analysis, he could see that when Lin Yi attacked, he actually used 3 moves. Lin Yi frowned slightly. This Great Guardian wasn't stupid either. He could actually separate the Vital Energy Bomb, the Frenzied Fire Fist, and the ever-changing Wood Forest. Can't I use them at the same time? Alright, I won't argue with you about this. The Great Guardian said coldly. I'm finished with your moves. Shouldn't you hand over the item with both hands? The item? I've said it before. If you want it, come and get it yourself. Lin Yi said. What? You didn't keep your word. Are you trying to cheat me? The Great Guardian's face suddenly became ugly. Cheat? When did I cheat you? Old thing, I've never treated you as a human. I only treated you as an old dog. Lin Yi laughed and secretly gave Sun Jingyi a look, asking her and Sky Thunder Pig to find a chance to escape. Just now, Lin Yi had used all of his strength, and it could be said that he had used all of his skills. but he still could not do anything to the great guardian. Although the Zhenqi bomb had not been completely compressed, Linny did not have the time to do anything to this old thing. The gap in strength between him and a heaven stage expert was not something that could be made up for with a few exquisite martial skills and ordinary trump cards. Good, very good. Since that's the case, then don't blame this old man for being impolite. The head protector was furious. Yes, he was truly furious. He was angry that Linny did not keep his word and actually went back on his word. He was a master who came from that place and often boasted that he was the orthodox of the martial arts world. Even when he destroyed the sects there, he found a high-sounding excuse. So when he promised Linny 5 moves, he gave Linny 5 moves. But he did not expect a junior to dare to do this to him. When he said this, his ashen face surged with a trace of blood, filled with sharp killing intent. Although Sun Jingyi did not want to abandon Lin Yi and escape, but she had no choice but to do so. Didn't Lin Yi risk his life to protect this small box in her arms? If this small box was snatched away, then all of Lin Yi's efforts would be wasted. And if she stayed here, she would definitely become Lin Yi's burden. So under Lin Yi's hint, Sun Jingyi turned around and wanted to escape. Wanna run? Stay behind together. The head protector was really angry. Previously, he had not intended to hurt Sun Jingyi. He had planned to capture her and let the higher-ups deal with her. However, if Sun Jingyi ran away, he might have to destroy a flower and injure Sun Jingyi first. After the head protector finished speaking, his eyes instantly narrowed. A strong and powerful vital energy emerged from his body. His body also turned into an afterimage, pressing towards Sun Jingyi with an oppressive pressure. The 8 trigrams robe on his body swelled up under the effect of the vital energy and emitted a buzzing sound. It was obvious that he was really angry and did not hold back at all. Lin Yi had not expected that the head protector would give up on him and directly attack the escaping Sun Jingyi. He could not help but frown. It seemed that his plan was wrong. No matter how angry the head protector was, he did not lose his composure and still remembered Lin Yi's purpose. It seemed that his plan to let Sun Jingyi escape alone during the chaos would not work. The head protector did not fall for Lin Yi's trick at all. His eyes were fixed on the box in Sun Jingyi's arms, followed by the 2 spiritual beast essence cores on Lin Yi's body. The spiritual beast essence cores were just a small toy for Tagan Dragon to show off. It did not matter whether he had it or not. As long as he got this box and handed it over to that place, it would probably be very easy to get a few spiritual beast essence cores as a reward. Lin Yi didn't have a choice. He had no choice but to take it head on. He tapped his feet on the ground, and with a sharp burst of energy, his body turned into a blur of lightning as he stood in front of Jingyi. Fortunately, Lin Yi had experience as an assassin in the past. Relying on his exquisite footwork, he was not weaker than the head protector in front of him. However, although Lin Yi managed to block it, 2 muffled bangs were heard from Lin Yi's chest and abdomen. Lin Yi's entire body was sent flying by the head protector, and he landed heavily on the ground. Brat, I haven't even used my martial arts yet. Are you already so weak? The head protector stared coldly at Lin Yi on the ground and said, An expert in the early stage of heaven rank only has this much strength. Lin Yi stood up from the ground. To be honest, the head protector's move without using any martial arts skills was not inferior to the 5th protector's 10th martial arts skill yesterday. However, Lin Yi did not resist. Instead, he used all his true chi to protect his body. When he was sent flying, he entered the space of the jade pendant to quickly heal his injuries. Even so, Lin Yi knew that he could not last long. Therefore, Lin Yi had to think of a way. Otherwise, he was afraid that he would die here today. Glancing at Sun Jingyi, who was holding the box, Lin Yi had a rough idea of what to do. When Sun Jingyi was escaping, the head protector attacked Sun Jingyi. It could be seen that the head protector's main target was the box in Sun Jingyi's arms. If Lin Yi took the box in Sun Jingyi's hands and ran all the way to the Great Fire Lion's cave, what were the chances of him winning? Although Lin Yi had exquisite footwork, Lin Yi was not 100% sure that he could escape. However, What if he gritted his teeth and did not care about the price? He would leave his back to the head protector and ignore his attacks. As long as he held his breath and continued to use the true chi in the space of the jade pendant to heal his injuries, he would not defend and run all the way. In this case, the head protector's chances had become 50-50. As long as Lin Yi did not fall and kept running, he could hold on until he reached the Great Fire Lion's cave. However, if the head protector could not catch Lin Yi, could he turn around and deal with Sun Jingyi? Chapter 2236. Although the guard had said that according to the rules, the spirit beasts couldn't go to the upper ridges, but the middle ridges were the spirit beasts' territory. If humans came to the middle ridges, would the spirit beasts let them go? Thinking of this, Lin Yi took a deep breath and prepared to run. But the guard seemed to have seen through Lin Yi's thoughts and said coldly, "Kid, don't even think about running. If you dare to run, I'll kill your female companion first and then go after you." The guard saw through Lin Yi's fear and directly threatened him. Despicable. Lin Yi spat out 2 words. He didn't think that the guard would see through his plan. But although Lin Yi was unhappy, there was nothing he could do. Regardless of whether the guard was telling the truth or not, Lin Yi didn't dare to try. A man with a small heart is not a gentleman. A man with venom is not a gentleman, the guard said disapprovingly. I originally wanted to leave your corpse intact, but you've made me lose my patience. Kid, you can go die now. The guard raised his hand, and a soft whip appeared in his hand. Weapon. Lin Yi took a deep breath. He had heard that the sky-class martial skills could be used with a weapon, greatly increasing the power. But Lin Yi had never seen it before. He didn't think that the first time he would see it would be here. And before, the guard's attack without any martial skills was already too much for Lin Yi to handle. Although Lin Yi's injuries were mostly healed, he didn't think that this guy would directly take out a weapon. Lin Yi's mouth twitched. His luck was really bad. Ever since he arrived at the Wulonghout Mountains, he had lost again and again. Could it be that his luck was too good before? And his luck had been so good that it had been used up during the Hidden House meeting? Against an Earth-class mid-phase, do I still need a weapon? Lin Yi took a deep breath. Humph. The head guard didn't pay attention to Lin Yi. He could see that the boy in front of him was very cunning and wouldn't let go of any opportunity to turn the tables. Since that was the case, he didn't hold back. He suddenly raised the whip, which was suddenly wrapped in a layer of Cyanjin Qi, and quickly lashed at Lin Yi. Furious sea raging waves, first style. A majestic aura smashed towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi was suddenly shocked and did not dare to meet it. He carried Sun Jingyi, who was behind him, and operated his inner force cultivation method to protect himself, and Sun Jingyi with his true chi. He quickly turned his feet and dodged to the side. Boom! The whip lashed at the place where Lin Yi had just been standing. The huge force smashed into the cyan brick and made a loud sound. The cyan brick was also sent flying by the huge force, and it broke into pieces. The original place where the cyan brick had been was now a huge pit. Even though Lin Yi had dodged fast enough, he still staggered from the force of the whip. The clothes on his right arm were torn, and there was a deep cut on his arm, revealing the bone. It was a mess of flesh and blood. Too strong. That was the only thought in Lin Yi's mind. He had already dodged it, and it was under the situation where he was protected by Jin Qi. But the force of the whip had still caused him to suffer such a serious injury. What if he had been hit by the whip? Perhaps it was as the Great Guardian said. If he had been hit, it would have been a fatal blow, and he would have stayed here forever. Dust filled the air. Feeling that his right arm had almost lost all feeling, Lin Yi's face turned serious. A heaven-rank early-stage expert, such a terrifying ability. It was unknown how many times stronger than Lin Yi's Earth-rank middle stage. This made Lin Yi feel even more bitter in his heart. You dodged fast, the Great Guardian sneered. That move just now he did not aim at all. It was just a random attack. He did not care about it, and only said mockingly, "This old man will also play a game with you. This old man will whip you 5 times. If you can block it, then this old man will let you go. How about it?" The corner of Lin Yi's mouth twitched. This old thing obviously wanted to play a monkey. That was only the first style of martial arts. With the activation of his heaven-rank early-stage strength and the soft whip weapon, it had already released a shocking power. If this guy used his strongest move, would he still be alive? Not to mention 5 moves. Lenny might not be able to dodge another one. All right, it's a deal. Although he knew that this old thing was playing with him, at this time, he had no choice but to bite the bullet. Don't die too quickly, that would be too boring. The great guardian retracted his soft whip and raised his head to look at Lin Yi with a sinister smile. His right hand suddenly raised again, his body moved slightly, and he shouted, "Raging waves of the sea 11th style. Fuck." Hearing the great guardian's shout, Lin Yi was so angry that he almost spat out blood. Just now it was the first style, and now it was the 11th style? One had to know that the strongest martial arts of a heaven-rank early-stage expert was probably the 11th style. This guy clearly wanted to take his life in one move. Subconsciously, the first thought that came to Lin Yi's mind was to run. This thing couldn't be blocked head-on. If he did, he would definitely die. Therefore, Lin Yi once again used that miraculous footwork. However, he didn't expect that this time, the great guardian seemed to want to kill him. That soft whip was like a maggot in a tarsal bone. No matter where Lin Yi dodged, it would sweep there, not giving Lin Yi any chance to hide. Looking at the sharp killing intent in the great guardian's eyes, Lin Yi was infuriated. Old thing, wait for this young master to make a comeback. I'll kill you first. In this battle, Lin Yi was too aggrieved. Fighting with someone who was several times stronger than him, the strength of both sides was simply unequal. Even if Lin Yi used all his skills, he couldn't do anything to the guy in front of him. However, Lin Yi had no room to turn back at this time. He desperately picked up Sun Jingyi and forcefully threw her into the air. He didn't care where he could throw Sun Jingyi to. He couldn't dodge this whip, so he could only take it head-on. He estimated that if he took a hit, he wouldn't die immediately. But it was hard to say for Sun Jingyi. Even if she didn't die after being whipped, she wouldn't be any better. Bang! Just at the moment when Lin Yi threw Sun Jingyi, the whip also hit his face and directly hit Lin Yi's chest. Lin Yi felt a sweetness in his throat and spat out a mouthful of blood. He staggered back 2 steps and fell to the ground with a pale face. The power of this whip was too strong. Even though Lin Yi had used enough true qi to protect his body, he already felt that all the ribs in his chest were broken, and more than half of his internal organs were injured. If he hadn't used the momentum of landing to divert some of the force to the green bricks under his feet, his injuries would probably have been more serious. Even so, the green bricks under Lin Yi's feet had already been shattered by Lin Yi. Chapter 2237. It was just that the injury was too serious and couldn't be healed in a short time. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Yi was still hanging on to his last breath, any other practitioner would have died in an instant. Fortunately, Lin Yi had the Jade Space as a rescue kit, allowing Lin Yi to heal his injuries at any time. Not dead. The guard was a little surprised. This Earth-class mid-stage master in front of him really made him look at him in a new light. Whether it was the strength of his moves or the endurance of his injuries, he was much stronger than other masters of the same level. However, the more this kind of person was, the heavier the guard's killing intent was. Once this person grew up, he would definitely hold a grudge and seek revenge. There seemed to be a few levels between Earth-class mid-stage and Heaven-class early stage, but Lin Yi was such a young Earth-class mid-stage. Who could guarantee that he wouldn't step into Heaven class within a few years? Once Lin Yi stepped into Heaven class, then the guard's advantage would be gone. If Lin Yi could still fight above his level, then the guard's life would be taken sooner or later. So, in order to prevent this situation from happening, the guard decided to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. No matter what, he had to kill Lin Yi. Sun Jingyi looked at the miserable Lin Yi on the ground. Her heart felt like it was smashed by a sledgehammer. Heartache, regret. She really regretted coming here. She shouldn't have explored her parents' secret. She shouldn't have brought Lin Yi along. In order to protect her, he didn't hesitate to lose his life. How could she repay him? However, Sun Jingyi knew that if Lin Yi died, the next one would be her. Forget it, I can't repay you in this life, but in the next life, I will definitely repay you. In the next life, I will be your lover, completely your lover. Crystal tears flowed out of Sun Jingyi's eyes. She looked at the dying Lin Yi on the ground, but there was nothing she could do. Of course not dead. Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood. Old thing, which sector are you from? Let me die. Let me die in peace. I'll find you for revenge in my next life. What? Trying to get information out of me? The head protector was stunned. He did not expect Lin Yi to ask such a question before he died. Of course. Otherwise I won't be able to die in peace. Lin Yi was simply stalling for time. His internal injuries were too severe, so Lin Yi had to seize the time to recover. I'm sorry, but you can only die with everlasting regret. Even at this moment, the Great Protector still couldn't reveal the power behind him. Although it wasn't a big secret on a certain level, there were some things that were tacitly understood. Alright, then I won't ask anymore. What exactly is this thing that you want to snatch? What's it used for? Lin Yi changed the topic. Oh, you don't know? The head guard was stunned. He hadn't expected Lin Yi's questions to be so baffling. Do I need to ask you if I already know? Lin Yi retorted. If you don't know, then how do you know about this place? Who sent you here? The Great Protector was puzzled. He had originally thought that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi would definitely know what that treasure was and what it was used for. Who would have thought that they didn't know? It was said that when a person was on the verge of death, his words were always kind. No matter how stupid Lin Yi was, he knew that he didn't have long to live. Although he wasn't dead yet, it was only a matter of time before he died. Did that mean that Lin Yi really didn't know what that thing was used for? We have a map. We came here according to the map, Lin Yi said straightforwardly. So that's how it is. Where did the map come from? A sharp light flashed in the eyes of the head guard. It was better not to know. The fewer people who knew the true use of this treasure, the better. Originally, he thought that the two people in front of him had some relationship with the two people they were looking for. The head guard kept Sun Jingyi alive because he was afraid that the matter of the treasure would spread. He wanted to let the higher-ups investigate the relationship between Sun Jingyi and the two people they were looking for, and how many people knew about the treasure. But now it seemed that it was no longer necessary. Since these two people didn't know, then they could die. Once they were dead, the secret of the treasure would not be revealed to the outside world. Tell me first, what's in that box? Lin Yi asked. Bargaining with me? The head guard smiled coldly. If that's the case, you don't need to say anything. Go to hell. After saying that, the head guard raised the whip in his right hand again. A strong green true qi once again filled the whip's body. The next moment, the whip burst out and swept towards Lin Yi's head. Lin Yi's heart trembled. If this whip swept down and smashed his head, even the art of dragon mastery wouldn't be able to repair it. He was shocked and terrified. He subconsciously rolled to the side, and his whole person was extremely embarrassed. However, the whip seemed to have eyes. It swept in the direction that Lin Yi rolled to. Seeing that the whip was about to hit Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi closed her eyes subconsciously. But then she heard a loud clang. It was the sound of two weapons colliding. A black iron rod blocked the whip. When the whip and rod collided, there was a huge energy collision. A red and a green true qi suddenly exploded at the point where the rod and rod met. The strong energy field directly shook Lin Yi a few meters away. However, it was only the aftermath of the collision of the two true qi that affected Lin Yi. It didn't hurt Lin Yi much. Instead, with the push of the aftermath, Lin Yi was pushed away from the center of the collision. This old man gave you the map. What do you want? An old man with disheveled hair and tattered clothes carried a black iron rod in his hand. He stood majestically at the place where Lin Yi was lying. He looked at the head guard with a cold smile. The aura on his body was stronger than the head guard's. Master! Lin Yi, who had a new lease of life, saw the old man in front of him, who saved his life at a critical moment. He couldn't help but call out these two words. Leer, quickly take you and hide. Leave this to Master. This old man was the heaven-ranked weirdo that Lin Yi met after the Ice Palace trial. He didn't expect to meet him here. Moreover, it was the most dangerous moment. Lenny let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was a little worried. Although this cheap master of his had the strength of the peak late stage of heaven ranked, he didn't seem to be very smart. He wouldn't run away after a few hits, right? Then he and Sunjingi would be in danger again. Hearing the way the weirdo called Lin and Sunjingi, a trace of doubt flashed across the head guard's eyes. Lia, Yua, weren't these the names of those two people? Was this old thing's mental illness acting up again? Or were these two juniors in front of him the two people who had disguised themselves? Chapter 2238. Just when things were about to succeed, someone suddenly appeared out of nowhere. This old thing occasionally appeared in the upper range of the Wulong Haut mountain range. It wasn't that the Great Guardian didn't know about him, but he knew him quite well. This was because the heaven-ranked eccentric was also one of the people he was responsible for monitoring. However, this old thing was crazy and his strength was terrifying. He had reached the peak of the world's martial arts, the peak of the heaven-ranked late stage. Therefore, the Great Guardian wouldn't easily provoke him and let him walk around the mountain range. In any case, this person was stupid. Although he had the strength of the peak of the heaven-ranked late stage, he didn't have much vigilance. He didn't notice that he was being monitored by the Great Guardian. As for finding a few more people to capture this old thing, it wasn't that the Great Guardian didn't think about it. The key was that this guy's martial arts were very strong, not to mention that it would be troublesome to capture him. Even if he was captured, he probably wouldn't be able to get any information out of him. This person's words were incoherent and didn't have a single point. It was better to let him wander around in the mountain range. If that thing was really hidden by him, maybe one day he would remember it and find it. Then the Great Guardian would be able to sit back and enjoy the fruits of his labor. However, this guy's appearance today wasn't a good time. This made the Great Guardian very depressed. This old thing clearly wanted to stand up for Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi, forcing the Great Guardian to have no choice but to confront him head-on. Although the Great Guardian was the direct disciple of that place, and was stronger than ordinary experts of the same level, this old thing's strength was several levels higher than his, making him feel uncertain. Old thing, this has nothing to do with you. What are you doing here? The Great Guardian asked. Lier, Master will help you take revenge. You take and leave first. There's a cave over there, wait for me there. The heaven-ranked eccentric said and laughed strangely. He raised the black iron rod in his hand and smashed it towards the Great Guardian. A huge amount of true chi wrapped around the black iron rod and smashed it straight towards the Great Guardian's head. The Great Guardian's expression changed slightly. He had no choice but to wave his long whip to meet the attack. However, what made him relieved was that this old thing didn't use any martial arts and completely relied on true chi to control the weapon. This made the Great Guardian relax. Boom! The whip and rod intertwined once again, making a loud sound. The powerful true chi collided and created a huge explosion. For a moment, sand and stones flew everywhere. What a strong power! Laney used this time to heal most of his injuries. Of course, it was only a part of it. His meridians and organs were healed, but that was only enough to keep him from dying. His ribs were still broken, but that wasn't important. He just looked a little worse for wear. Since the Great Guardian was to be to help, to Lin Linie to help. Since Lin of he the Guardian had to said. Lin Guardian was to say. Of the Lin of and Yang of the Guardian of the Great Guardian, to was to stage. Linny needed a quiet place to heal his wounds as well. Those few whips from the protector had given him heavy injuries, and if he didn't heal himself quickly, he wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Naturally, he didn't dare to heal his injuries on the spot. He was too close to the great protector. If this old dog took advantage of the fact that his cheap master wasn't prepared and attacked him, then he would be finished. Sure enough, Linny saw a cave in the direction the heaven-rank eccentric was pointing. There were some simple household utensils and traces of a bonfire in the cave. It seemed that this was where the heaven-rank eccentric lived. Come to think of it, the heaven-ranked eccentric should have come here to wait for his disciple after they parted ways. Then today, He should have sensed the true energy fluctuations brought about by the great guardian's whips. So he hurried over. "Are you okay?" Linny asked after putting Sun Jingyi down. "I'm fine. I just scratched my arm. It's just a superficial wound." Sun Jingyi shook her head. "Are you okay? If you can't, I can heal you." When Sun Jingyi said this, it was a struggle in her heart. She had only practiced the first level of the Sun family's mental cultivation method. In other words, if she stagnated, then she could only heal one person for the rest of her life. If she healed Lin Yi, then she couldn't heal anyone else. As for her relationship with Lin Yi, it was self-evident from now on. However, Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi's injuries were so serious, much more serious than yesterday. His chest was dented by the Great Protector. In her opinion, even if Lin Yi could heal himself, could he survive such a serious injury alone? Therefore, Sun Jingyi made this suggestion. "Oh, if you heal me, what about the future?" Lin Yi was slightly stunned after listening to Sun Jingyi's words, then asked with a smile. I don't care about the future. I just don't want anything to happen to you." Sun Jingyi said solemnly. "Don't worry, it's not that serious. I can handle it myself." Lin Yi smiled. He didn't expect Sun Jingyi to make up her mind to take this step. His heart was very comforted. It seemed that this girl was loyal. He didn't come out with her for nothing. "And, if you can't do it, please tell me." Sun Jingyi looked at Lin Yi's injury and was a little worried. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say much. He closed his eyes and ran the second level of the art of dragon mastery. He quickly healed his injury. He had to recover as soon as possible. Although there was a master at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage, helping him fight, Lin Yi was still worried. This master was a little unreliable. If he ran away in the middle of the fight, and the guard came looking for him, he and Sun Jingyi would be unlucky again. Therefore, the most important thing was to heal his injury first, and then see if his master killed the guard. If he did, then he would be relieved. Sun Jingyi knew that Lin Yi was healing, and didn't dare to disturb him. She just sat quietly, and carefully observed Lin Yi's movements. When she saw Lin Yi's face gradually become ruddy, and the sunken ribs in his chest were slowly recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye, Sun Jingyi sighed in amazement at Lin Yi's magic, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Yi was actually more powerful than the Sun family's mental cultivation method. Such a serious injury recovered so easily? Didn't that mean that as long as Lin Yi was breathing he wouldn't die? Thinking of this situation, Sun Jingyi was shocked. Wasn't this too powerful? Although she more or less knew some of Lin Yi's magic, seeing it with her own eyes at this moment, Sun Jingyi was still shocked. Chapter 2239. His physical strength had recovered to its peak, but he wasn't happy at all. Instead, he was worried. Why hasn't Master returned yet? The Great Protector was a Heaven rank initial stage master, while his master was a Heaven rank late stage master. The gap between the two was huge. To put it bluntly, it was similar to the previous battle between Lin Yi and the Great Protector. They weren't on the same level at all. It was a one-sided battle. However, it had been half an hour, and his master still hadn't finished the battle? Lin Yi was a little worried. A Heaven rank late stage master shouldn't be that hard to kill a Heaven rank initial stage master, right? Back then, when Miss Rock Candy was in the Hidden Tang family, she was very overbearing. "Jingyi, stay here. Don't go out. I'll go see Master." Lin Yi hesitated for a moment and said, "He is the one who gave you the map." Sun Jingyi also guessed the identity of the Heaven rank eccentric. "And it's him. It's been half an hour, and he still hasn't returned. I'm afraid something happened to him." Lin Yi nodded and said seriously, "Then be careful." Sun Jingyi originally wanted to go with him, but she suddenly thought that it would be a waste of time. Instead, she would become a burden, so she simply gave up on the idea. "After I go, if the situation isn't right, I'll let out a long whistle. At that time, you take the Skybolt pig down the mountain and take refuge in the Great Flame Lion's cave." Lin Yi said. Sun Jingyi really didn't want to run alone. "I can only run if you run. Don't worry, I'll definitely go back. I'm just afraid that I won't be able to heal myself. I'll have to rely on you," Lin Yi said. N. Sun Jingyi's face was slightly red, but she agreed. Indeed, if she was here, she wouldn't be able to help Lin Yi. Instead, she would make him afraid and become his burden. This wasn't the time to be emotional, so Sun Jingyi finally agreed. From the moment Lin Yi walked out of the cave, he began to compress a chi bomb. Now that Lin Yi's physical strength had returned to its peak, Lin Yi was ready to compress a bigger chi bomb. Of course, after Lin Yi left the cave, he didn't walk very fast. In fact, it could be said that he was very slow. This was because Lin Yi was very careful with every step he took. He was always checking the surroundings and feeling the changes in the jade space. If the jade space emitted a weak warning signal, Lin Yi would give Sun Jingyi an advance warning. Lin Yi walked all the way to the hall at the top, but there wasn't any danger. As he walked closer, he heard sounds. It seemed that the battle between his heaven-ranked strange master and the Great Guardian was not over yet. This made Lin Yi feel a little strange. The difference in strength between the two was so obvious. Why hadn't the battle ended after more than half an hour? Could it be that there were other new enemies joining in? Or did this Great Guardian have the same ability as him to fight against enemies of a higher level? However, even if he had the ability to fight against enemies of a higher level, wasn't this ability a little too strong? An early-stage heaven rank could compete with a peak late-stage heaven rank master. Thinking of this, Lin Yi quickened his pace and finally arrived at the top of the mountain again. However, he saw the strange man and the Great Guardian fighting inextricably. The two people were still the same, and there were no new enemies joining the battle. In other words, the Great Guardian had the ability to fight against a peak late-stage heaven rank master? However, after watching for a while, Lin Yi found something unusual and couldn't help but frown. That Great Guardian was indeed very powerful. He was definitely much more powerful than old Master Zhao and those hidden families' heaven rank masters. But he definitely didn't have the ability to fight against a peak late-stage heaven rank master. At this moment, he was able to fight evenly with the heaven-ranked eccentric, because although the heaven-ranked eccentric's strength was there, he did not know how to use martial skills. He did not know whether he had forgotten, or simply did not think of using them. He simply poured his true chi into the black iron rod in his hand to resist the Great Guardian's whip. In this way, one side was completely using true chi to fight head-on, while the other side was relying on exquisite martial skills to make up for a lot of the gap and shortcomings of the Great Guardian. However, the most important thing was that there seemed to be some problems with the strange man's mind. His mind wasn't bright, and it also affected his reaction speed and moves. On the other side, the Great Guardian had a very clear method. One move after another, it was continuous. As soon as the first move ended, the next move would follow. But looking at the strange man, it was completely random. There was no method to speak of, and he hit wherever he wanted. As he continued to watch, Lin Yi shook his head again and again. In just a short while, the strange man had already been hit. If it wasn't for his tyrannical strength, he would have been defeated by the Great Guardian long ago, and wouldn't have been able to last until now. Fortunately, his foundation was thick and his strength was there. For a moment, although he was stretched, he wouldn't be defeated. However, as a bystander, Lin Yi was anxious in his heart. If this went on, it definitely wouldn't work. If this went on, the strange man would definitely lose. Although he was an expert with the strength of a peak late-stage heaven rank master, he didn't have any tactics or martial arts. He relied entirely on his tyrannical strength to fight head-on. Now that he was in danger, if the Great Guardian found a flaw in opportunity, it wasn't impossible to seriously injure him or even kill him. And the Great Guardian obviously saw this. He didn't risk his life fighting the strange man. Instead, he launched sneak attacks while fighting. At the same time, he looked for the strange man's weakness and opening, preparing to give him a fatal blow when he was unprepared. The Great Guardian had already seen Lin Yi's return, but he didn't care at all. In his eyes, Lin Yi was a dead man. Not to mention that he had already been seriously injured. Even if he hadn't, his moves wouldn't have any effect on the Great Guardian. Thus, he wasn't afraid that Lin Yi would help. In a battle between heaven rank experts, an earth rank expert wouldn't be helping, but would be a hindrance. If Lenny participated, the strange man would have to protect him. At that time, it would give the Great Guardian an opportunity to attack. The Great Guardian believed that Lin Yi wasn't stupid enough to rashly participate in a battle of this level. Thus, he continued to fight the heaven rank eccentric fearlessly. The apprehension and fear he had felt when they first fought had long since been thrown out of the 9 heavens. In his opinion, defeating or even killing the heaven rank eccentric was only a matter of time. And Lin Yi taking the initiative to come back was simply a good thing. After killing the strange man, he didn't need to look for Lin Yi anymore. This little thing had come back to die. Chapter 2240. It was clear that the heaven rank monster could get rid of the Great Guardian, but he had mental issues. It was already not easy for him to fight to a draw. However, this draw was relative. It wouldn't be long before the heaven rank monster would be suppressed by the Great Guardian. Lin Yi's guess was soon confirmed. Although the heaven rank monster wouldn't be defeated for a while, it was only a matter of time before he was defeated. Lin Yi had to speed up the compression of the energy bomb. If he could gather all the true qi in his body to compress an energy bomb, then the power would be quite terrifying. When he fought with Ma Zhu, his strength was far from what it was now. At that time, gathering all the strength in his body to create an energy bomb was already quite amazing. If he could compress all the energy in his body to create an energy bomb, then the power would probably be even more amazing. To deal with this Great Guardian, Lin Yi didn't plan to hold back. He would use as much as he could, even if his meridians were damaged. Anyway, he still had the Skybolt pig. If not, the little fire lion and the lioness could be used as backup. Even if they were gone, there was still Sun Jingyi the lover, who could heal. So Lin Yi didn't have any worries. Looking at the heaven rank monster who was being played around by him, the Great Guardian sneered in his heart. So what if you're a peak late stage heaven rank expert? You've lost your mind. Didn't you still become my defeated opponent? The Great Protector's sneak attacks were successful again and again. Even though the heaven-ranked eccentric was very strong, he had suffered some injuries at this time. His movements had become somewhat sluggish, especially his legs, which had been repeatedly whipped by the Great Protector. It was fine at first, but after a while, the eccentric's legs were injured and his movement speed was naturally affected. Although Lin Yi was worried, he couldn't act rashly. His energy bomb had been compressed for so long, and he had only compressed half of it. He was now a mid-stage Earth rank expert. If he wanted to compress all the true qi in his body into one, it would naturally take a lot more time than before. So Lin Yi could only watch the heaven rank monster suffer setbacks. But there was no other way. Old madman, go to hell! The Great Guardian's right hand shook, and the whip once again swept towards the strange man's legs. This was the weakness he had found. The heaven rank freak should have forgotten his martial arts, and was fighting without any technique. He was completely relying on his own bravery. So if his legs were injured or even broken, it would affect his movements. In his eyes, he was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. The strange heaven-ranked man didn't think too much about it. He raised his black iron rod to block the guard's whip, but he didn't know that it was just a feint. The whip didn't meet the black iron rod head-on. Instead, it lightly rose, bypassed his block, and fiercely lashed at his legs from another direction. Raging waves of the raging sea, the 12th move. This move, the head protector used all of his power, not even hesitating to use the 12th form of the raging waves of the raging sea, which wasted his physical strength. As a heaven rank initial stage expert, he could activate the 12th form of the martial technique. This was a very impressive thing, but considering his identity and the fact that he came from that place, it was not surprising at all. Master, be careful! Lin Yi couldn't help but shout when he saw this scene. But his shout was already too late. Even if it was just a heaven rank initial stage expert, how fast was he? Lin Yi saw through his intentions and tried to warn him, but it was already too late. The strange heaven rank man's reaction speed was poor. When he heard Lin Yi's words, he hesitated for a moment before reacting. As a result, he was hit by the Great Guardian. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The strange heaven-ranked man's leg burst into a mist of blood. The great guardian's raging waves of the raging sea, which could topple mountains and overturn the seas, affected Lin Yi, who was far away. He was swept by the violent and strong true energy, causing his body to sway. He staggered and sat on the ground. Fortunately, Lin Yi was far away, and the great guardian's move was directed at the strange heaven-ranked man. Most of the force hit the strange heaven-ranked man, and Lin Yi wasn't affected much. However, the strange heaven-ranked man wasn't so good. He knelt on the ground from this blow, and let out an unwilling scream and roar. How is it? Isn't it great, old madman? This is just the beginning. The great guardian's confidence swelled to the extreme after his attack succeeded. Even if you are a heaven-ranked late-stage expert, I can still grind you to death. With my current physical state, I can at least activate the 12th form of raging waves of the raging sea 5 more times. Can you take these 5 times? Humph. Although the strange heaven-ranked man's mind was damaged, he wouldn't show any weakness in front of his enemies. He stood up shakily from the ground and angrily waved the black iron rod towards the great guardian's face. If it weren't for the fact that the 12th move required some time to charge up, the guard really wanted to use the 12th move of the raging seas and raging waves to beat this old madman so hard that he couldn't even crawl back up. Raging waves of the raging sea, 11th form. He couldn't activate the 12th form consecutively, but he could use it together with the 11th form. One fast and one slow, he could still kill the strange heaven-ranked man. Pa! The strange heaven-ranked man was already injured, and his lower body was unstable. The black iron rod in his hand was wrapped by the great guardian's whip. With a shake, he was thrown away and landed heavily on the ground. Lin Yi was extremely anxious. The previous 12th form of raging waves of the raging sea was the key to victory. The strange heaven-ranked man's legs were completely injured. Although he could still stand up with difficulty, Lin Yi could see that the strange heaven-ranked man was forcing himself to stand up. He reckoned that the bones in his legs were already broken. If this went on, the strange heaven-ranked man wouldn't be able to last more than a few moves and would be defeated. Think about it, if an expert lost his legs, could he still be called an expert? If it was a normal peak late-stage heaven-rank expert, there might be other ways. But this strange heaven-ranked man with mental problems could only be beaten up without his legs. However, although Lin Yi was anxious, his true energy bomb had only been compressed by 2/3. There was still a third of true energy that hadn't been compressed. Lin Yi didn't dare and couldn't act rashly. If this attack didn't have any effect on the Great Guardian, then the master and disciple pair would really be buried here. Thinking of this, Lin Yi hesitated for a moment, but he still took out a small bottle, poured out a pill, and threw it directly into his mouth. The whip landed on the heaven-rank eccentric's body, and once again exploded into a thick bloody mist. The heaven-rank eccentric let out a blood-curdling screech filled with anger and unwillingness. He staggered as he crawled up from the ground. However, he spat out a mouthful of blood. It was obvious that his injuries were not light. This time, the heaven-ranked eccentric didn't have time to block the 12th form of the raging sea's raging waves, and it completely smashed into his body. How could the heaven-ranked eccentric have an easy time? His trembling body swayed on the spot before he could steady himself. His entire face was extremely pale and wretched. Old madman, this taste is not bad, right? Does it feel good? The guard sneered. A dignified peak late phase expert was actually beaten into such a sorry state by a heaven-rank early phase cultivator. Ha 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 ha. The guard's laughter was very savage. Previously, he didn't expect that he could actually beat the heaven-ranked eccentric into such a sorry state. The heaven-ranked eccentric's eyes flashed with hatred. Although his entire body was in great pain, he still endured it and stood up. However, the moment he stood up, he suddenly thought of something and turned to look at Lin Yi. He shouted, "Li, why are you back again? Run now. Take you down the mountain and run far away. Don't worry about me." Although his mind was a little problematic, and his mind wasn't very bright, he could still distinguish between friend and foe. Moreover, he was very clear about his own situation. Although the guard's level was much lower than his, he was not his opponent at all. However, after a long time, he forgot how to activate his raging fire fist, and could only use his true chi to resist. Moreover, because his mind wasn't very bright, it made his reaction speed a lot slower. That was why he suffered a big loss and lost in a mess. However, it didn't matter if he lost. He had to let Linny escape. No one will be able to escape. The guard sneered and raised his hand. The whip in his hand once again lashed at the heaven-ranked eccentric. Raging waves of the raging sea. 11th form. The 11th form, raging waves of the raging sea, and the 12th form, raging waves of the raging sea were used together. It was a tried and tested magical weapon that allowed the heaven-ranked eccentric to be unable to turn the situation around. Bang! Although the heaven-ranked eccentric tried his best to block with the black iron rod in his hand, his stamina consumption was too high, and he had suffered serious internal injuries. He simply wasn't a match for the Great Protector, and was sent flying once again, landing on the ground with a bang. The severe pain from his chest, and the severe physical exhaustion caused the heaven-ranked eccentric's vision to gradually become blurry. He looked at Lin Yi, who was still sitting on the ground like an old monk in meditation, and the guard who raised the whip and sneered. The heaven-ranked eccentric was unwilling. Disciple, quickly run. What are you dawdling for? The heaven-ranked eccentric roared at Lin Yi in shock and anger. Lin Yi clenched his teeth. He didn't want to waste any more energy talking. He was about to succeed. Old lunatic, accept your fate. The guard let out a strange cry. He stomped on the ground and flew towards the direction of the heaven-ranked eccentric. He raised the whip in his hand and waved it in the air. With the attitude of a victor, he looked at the heaven-ranked eccentric, who was on the verge of death. With my insignificant heaven-ranked early-stage strength, I actually beat a heaven-ranked late-stage expert like a dog. Haha, if this gets out, it will be a huge joke in the cultivation world. After saying that, the guard prepared to activate the 12th form, raging waves of the raging sea. He could basically confirm that once this form was activated, even if the heaven-ranked eccentric didn't die, he wouldn't be far from it. Even if there were miraculous pills, it wouldn't be able to save him. When the heaven-ranked eccentric saw that Lin Yi wasn't running, he felt a pain in his heart. He struggled to get up from the ground and prepared to fight with the guard, but he didn't know how useful that would be. You will get your retribution sooner or later. The heaven-ranked eccentric roared angrily. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.